Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foulball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing phenomenally. Thank you so much for asking. I was just hanging out in my place in sunny Los Angeles, California, and I was bored, really bored, and didn't have, I don't know, I was feeling restless. You know what I mean? You know how you feel sometimes? You just want to talk to people, just want to go out into the world and put yourself out there. Well, that's how I'm feeling right now. That's how I'm feeling right now. So I figured I'd just fire up the stream and I don't know, talk at a webcam for a while. If anyone's watching, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for stopping in. No set topic. No agenda here. No expanse chat. No movie chat. I mean, sure, movie chat's gonna happen, but just a wild stream. Well, this is the MFer Cocktail Lounge. I don't know, just something I came up with because I've got a drink or two of tequila in me. I'm smoking this gigantic cigar, and I thought I would just hang out and see if any of the wonderful people on my channel stop in and say hi and see what you're up to. Maybe you're just as bored as I am. Elvis. This is chat about nothing. Just like Seinfeld. Just like Seinfeld. Yeah. You ever watch comedians in cars getting coffee? I do a little thinking about Seinfeld from time to time. I think he's an interesting comedian. I think very prolific. I feel like there's a lot we don't know about that guy. I feel like I don't know if you ever watched the whole show, but I watched the whole show. And towards the end, there's an episode where him and this other girl who's more like a vaudeville type performer, more of like a sort of not burlesque, but she has like this whole show. She's a rather big woman, very charismatic, very provocative. And Seinfeld goes off on this rant about this comic, and they keep bleeping out the name. And there's some like Reddit threads where they tell you who it is. And his like toxic energy, like how angry he was, how like genuinely pissed he was at this guy. I was like, yeah, where's the comic? That's the guy, I think. You know, like a lot of comics. I listen to a lot of comedians, and a lot of them have that kind of like edge on them, that toxic, kind of like claws out sort of edge. And I've never really seen it from Seinfeld. And I kind of just wonder, where it's at. And I was like, there it is. There it is. I think there's more layers to that onion than he lets out into the world. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Eric K is hanging out. Hello, sir. Hail to you. Good to see you. I'm just flying blind tonight, man. No direction, no nothing in sight, but just going. I've got I was actually talking about you today, Elvis. I brought this up to a few dudes that I work with, and I was talking about the show and the stream, and I was like, yeah, and there was like this dude who's a brigadier general from Croatia hanging out in my chat. I thought about how wild that was, man. It's good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. And I just wanted to communicate with my peeps. Eric K. Been a slow night. Thought I would stop in. Lol. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. Eric K., when are you going to come out of the shadows and show the world what you've got to offer? I want you to start streaming. I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna formally extend the invitation to the mighty Eric K. to come hang out. You are invited to Foulball Productions, chat, stream, whenever you feel you'd like to, sir. My good man. Eric K is a great guy. Eric K is the mod over at Nerd Rock. There's quite a few mods, but in my opinion, he's the mod. And he's a great dude. I met him in Vegas. Class act. Funny as hell. Good shit. And I think one of these days he is going to make a public appearance. And you know what? If you'd like, sir, you can do it here. You can have, this can be your platform. And I invite you, I cordially invite you to come hang out on Foulball Productions. And in fact, I'm going to put this out to the Discord right now and see if anyone's around. See if anyone wants to hang out. Open invite to come chat. All are in. Welcome. And we'll get some interesting topics. I don't know. I might just babble. Eric K. I will think about it. I just might take you up on it sometime. I hope so, my good man. I hope so. I like you a lot. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you. A lot of fun talking with you. USDutchKitty, is that someone's asking topics? Anything you like. Anything you like. Boom. Maybe we'll have some guests. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the night. Elvis, I've retired from the Army 8 years ago by my choice, but still experienced days. But I'm now the owner of a medium transport company. Elvis, how old are you, dude? Like, just by your picture, I'm like, that guy's like 28. 28-year-old fucking professional hammer thrower. Elvis is a monster. That's interesting, man. You have an interesting life. Interesting story, dude. All right. Well, looks like we're going to have a guest. Terrific. That's wonderful stuff. But hey, man, it's so cool. Like, this whole thing is so wild. You know, like, I started out doing it just, you know, it's quarantine. I want to try my hand at this and see how it goes. Turns out there's a lot of people who are huge fans of The Expanse, and hail to you all. Love that you guys like are out there. And then it's like you really start interacting with people and you start talking, like communicating with people out in the world, not just one-sided. Now I'm having a conversation. I mean, people from all over the world and like with really interesting stories. It's a completely unexpected development, and it's so cool. I'm glad that you're here, man. It's very, very cool to talk to you. Eric K. I used to do the Sunday night late chat on Latino Slant, but he stopped doing it. Oh, well, that's too bad. That's too bad. Latino Slant and I have a tentative plan to talk about Repo Man. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Repo Man, but that is one of my favorite little cult classics, because I'm like truly like a punk rocker at heart, and I love that movie. But not that many people know about it, and fewer get it. And when I found out Latino loves it so much, he actually uses it in his intro music. He uses a song from that movie in his intro music. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, we have to do a stream talking about Repo Man. So that will happen. That's in the works for sure. That is going to be a thing. I just don't know when. We haven't communicated. I haven't made the effort. We're, you know, we'll connect eventually, but not quite just yet. Elvis. And just so you know, Brigadier General, Army, Navy, Commodore, i.e. lowest general rank. Oh, really? Okay. Because I thought like Brigadier General meant like second in command. I don't know the Croatian army structure. Still, though, a general, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the most I've ever been in charge of has been like an army of caterers at weddings in Los Angeles. I don't think it's quite the same level of taking care of men. I will tell you, though, you do learn a little bit about leadership being in charge of a group of people. You really do figure out what works. In fact, one of the most enlightening things about me being like a manager, because I'm kind of a pain in the ass. You know, like, I don't like when people tell me what to do. I like to just be like kind of given a task and assign. I don't like bosses. I don't like that. I don't like that energy. And once I became a manager, I realized, oh, fuck, nobody likes that. I was talking to this kid and I asked him to do something and he gave me that energy that I've given to like a million bosses. And I was just like, oh, that's not unique to me. That's just like, no one likes to be treated like that. I was like, oh, wow, that's really insightful. And that gave me like a lot of insight into how to like manage people and how to like talk to people and coach them and get them what you need them to do. You know, it's a delicate thing, but it's like, it was very like insightful and kind of like made me feel good. You know, I was like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only problem. Like, people just feel like that. All right, cool. That was pretty interesting. I'm sure your experience as a brigadier general might be slightly different, but for me, it was pretty interesting. It looks like we have a guest in the chat. We welcome to this show, to the MFer Cocktail Lounge, USDutchKitty. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's Friday night after Friday Night Tights, and I'm still wound up.
Right? I couldn't settle in. I kept trying to put on something. I was putting on different shows and different movies, and nothing was satisfying this. So, I figured I'd just fire up the camera and see what was going on. And thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
So I don't think we've actually properly been introduced. We share a Discord on Jake's channel.
So
Hello. Hello. Do you have a channel, USDutchKitty?
I used to, and then real life got in the way. And I kind of scrubbed it, and I keep thinking that I want to come back, but I don't know what to do.
Well, what are you into? What's your stuff?
Well, see, a lot of people cover Star Wars and everything else in the world, and
Sure.
you know what? I would like to talk about things I like, and even though it may not interest people, it's like I'm into anime. I'm into it's like on Netflix they made a live action version of the Winx Club. If you remember that show.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, look it up. You probably
Okay.
in the early 2000s of a magical girl show, that had fairies and transformations, that kind of thing. And they did a live action version using the person that ran the Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
And it's like, holy crap. I don't know if I can cuss or not, but
by all means, feel free. Use all the profanities.
As a magical girl fan, holy fuck. They couldn't do anything right.
Is this it? Is this the show you're talking about?
Yeah. But look at the original. Say, just type in the Winx Club.
Okay.
Not the one on the bottom, but yeah. There! Just on design alone, they whitewash 2 characters.
Yeah, of course.
They delete 1 character altogether, and there's no positivity in it. That's what really pissed me off.
See, I'll tell you what, I don't know anything about the Winx Club at all. This is the first I'm hearing about it. However, your passion makes me think you've got enough there for a video.
I know, but it's just that, I grew up with the magical girl genre in the 90s with Sailor Moon and all that. And the big thing about the genre is about friendship. It's about relying on each other to get through things, monsters or daily life. And for what they did, I think the guy's name is Brian Young.
All right, Brian Young.
But Brian Young, he did the Vampire Diaries.
Right.
And why the hell they think it's like they slammed Sabrina and the creepy one on Netflix. Sabrina, Riverdale, and Vampire Diaries. And they're like, nope, nobody's nobody. No, I don't recognize any of these characters other than their names. And so I watched all that this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
well, I think it's something we talk about in the Fandom Menace quite a bit. I think it has a lot to do with people in Hollywood. I mean, I kind of work in Hollywood myself, and everyone's just trying to get a job. Everyone's just trying to get, it's hard. It's competitive. It's just chock full of nepotism.
Yeah.
And so everyone's just trying to get a job. And what ends up happening a lot of the times is people get a job for properties or IPs that they don't really care about. They don't have any emotion connected to. They're not fans. They just got the job. And so I think what happens is vainly and without respect, they end up just making, something that they wanted to do, some sort of like vain, idealized version of some property or IP that they don't respect. And then that's why we end up with so much shit.
Well, here's the problem with the Winx saga is that it got the okay from the creator to go this way.
Oh, okay. Probably because they got a okay check with a big fat dollar sign attached.
Well, to it. Yeah, and this is also co-produced from Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and they're kind of like, just of like, well, we couldn't do things in the kids show, in the animated series that apparently the older fans like, so we thought we would do it this way. It's like, no, that's not what we want.
Sure.
We want high fashion. We want transformations. It's not that freaking hard.
Right.
And I know people hate feelings in hallways.
Yeah.
And I should have had a clicker of how many times it was like, okay.
See,
10,
that's another
12,
video.
13, 14, 15, 16.
That's another video you should do. That's like, you ever watch Cinema Sins? That channel?
Yeah, yep.
And he does the bing. You should do that with feelings in hallway scenes. Bing, 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 bing.
I mean, okay, I'm a girl. I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm like, okay, I like feely, touchy things. Okay, yes, my dog's awake now.
Puppy.
Yes, I know. But it's just of like, hey, get the story rolling. You got 6 episodes, but you filled up almost, if you took all the action out, which is barely anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost all feeling in hallways and backstabbing while you're trying to make friends.
I'll tell you what, there was one episode of The Expanse this season that I had an issue with. I think it was episode 7. Probably the most polarizing take I've had on the show, because essentially The Expanse has made my channel. Mm-hmm. I put out a video that got it's 45,000 views or something like that about the cancellation, and that drew a lot of people in and all my reviews and all that. So it's like I've kind of become an Expanse channel, and which is fine, 'cause that's my favorite show. But there was an episode, not this past week, but the week before, that I didn't like, because it was just a lot of just what you're talking about, just people talking about their feelings and the story not moving forward. And I just think universally that's pretty poorly received. And that's just, it's uninteresting writing.
And also, well, it's cheap writing when they know that they have to, pull the budget from something to put it over here. So it's like, okay, let's just talk about feelings over here.
It's easy writing.
It's easy writing. Yeah, it's supposed to be what? A page a minute? Is that what a script is? It's usually a page a minute. Yeah. And so even, like I said, even in the girly stuff I'm in, now it's too much, especially in the superheroes. That's why I love WandaVision. Even though it's slow, but you're kind of like, okay, there's a payoff. And then you see the little nuggets. And
slow can work.
Slow can work.
I watched, in fact, back to The Expanse, this past week's episode, not a lot happened, but things were happening, but they were happening slowly. So it was compelling, but it was story.
Yeah.
The ball was moving. Even though it was slow, it wasn't boring. It wasn't uninteresting. I was happy to be watching. I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, it's engaging to watch the ball move this slowly, because it almost raises the stakes and makes the tedium of what that character's doing so much more intense. And it's like, I dig that. Like, as long as the story, I think you can get away with a lot. But once you start just being like, oh, we're talking about our feelings, this is what I feel and this is what they feel, no one gives a shit, because you're just stagnating. It's nothing's happening. Elvis says, when the audience starts praising character by saying how actress is great, that's a sign of a dull character. Yeah. Fucking A.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, Elvis, what is your favorite CW show? I don't have one, because, CW's just gone to crap.
Pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. I streamed with Nick Weiser the other day, and we were talking about I guess we were talking about Batwoman, the new Batwoman show.
I don't watch that. I just watch everybody review it, and that's my entertainment.
And I remember, and they were talking about how bad the ads were, on the CW website, and that reminded me, I'm an actor, and so years ago they did this really big casting call for The Flash, the TV show The Flash, which was essentially a spinoff of the Green Arrow show. And so they gave us a few pages of sides to work on, to, go audition with. And then, as a good actor, you do your research. And I started to watch, I went to the CW website. I watched whatever the most recent episode of the Green Arrow was. Now, mind you, a lead role in a television show translates to a career, lots of money, basically achieving your dreams. Right. the Green Arrow show was so bad, and the CW ads were so numerous and endless. I honestly stopped watching. Like, I literally couldn't take it with a leading television show role on the line. That's how bad that experience was for me. I was like, oh, I can't even do this. I want to turn this off. It's almost ruining my experience. In fact, I think that kind of sunk my audition because I was like, oh, this show is terrible.
See, I tried watching it on Netflix and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if it's because it's supposed to be broody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, this is the girl in me. I went there for John Barrowman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Doctor Who fan. Captain Jack Harkness. Okay, I'll watch it for him. And pretty much that was the only reason I stayed on for at least a season and a half.
Nothing. Well, that's a testament to that man.
Yeah, I'll follow wherever he goes. And that's just that he's gonna bring it all. And even though I haven't watched the holiday special of Doctor Who this past year, but I from what I've heard, it seemed like he kind of phoned it in while trying to pretend like he knew the Doctor.
I'm trying. So is it John? How do you spell Berryman? Because I'm trying to look this man up.
Like Barrow.
Barrow.
Yeah, Barrowman.
Barrowman.
Sorry, my southern accent sometimes slurs.
No, I've heard his name, and I don't know who anyone's referring to. So this is like, I don't really have a context for this guy in particular. So I just want to I'm trying to figure out who it is that you're talking about. Is this the man?
Yep.
Okay, and he was on the Green Arrow. Who was he on the Green Arrow?
Oh gosh, I gotta look up his name. Somebody will know in the chat.
Is he a villain or something?
Yeah, he was a villain. He was like the stepdad to the Green Arrow, I think.
Oh, okay. Hey, Vigilante Williamson, what's up, my good man? If you want to join us, you feel free, my.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Vigilante yet.
I love this guy. He's the man. The StreamYard's in the Discord chat, buddy. If you feel like hanging out.
Yeah.
I didn't do that, but I guess I'll just address this. This season of The Expanse, Dominique is killing it. Most popular comment for the last 2 episodes. Yeah. Which, you know what? I accept on this past episode. The last one, I don't really care. It's not really something that's that interesting to me. Like, it's just because someone's doing a good job. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't want the episode to hinge on that. Like, we want story. We want story. And Vigilante says that the character he played is
Malcolm Merlin. Yep.
Is that it? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and also I watched The Expanse, but I haven't watched it yet because I'm just waiting for it to finish.
Fair enough.
So my dad and I can watch it together.
Oh, that's sweet. Because
nice. He was the one who got me into it. So
rad.
Yeah, it's like, so we made a deal. It's like, you can't watch it, you can't watch either. Okay.
That's cool. I want to say hello to just another Redshirt, another man. That is awesome. I feel it's another guy who should be streaming more and doing videos more. He has, if nothing else, he has that silky broadcaster voice.
See, I don't think I've heard his voice either.
He joined, I think he joined a stream of mine or maybe a Vigilante's, and I got him into The Expanse. I feel that I am the sole reason it happened. But he joined the channel. This guy's got a great voice, a great broadcaster voice. Like, do you know Wes Moody?
Wes Moody. No.
He's in the orbits. He's in the nerdrotic orbit, and he's got another one. He's just got like car salesman like ad voice. You're just like, oh, maybe I will buy a Honda.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Doomcock with his helmet on. He has
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Just another Redshirt. He's still trying to catch up with The Expanse. Yep. It's a whole to do. Are you? Dutch Kitty, are you caught up? Like, where are you in The Expanse right now?
Oh, I'm waiting for this season to end so I can watch it.
So you finished season 4.
Oh yeah, I'm caught up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, Wes Moody. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wes Moody is great.
Yes.
And I agree. He is great. I like him a lot. And I listen to his streams. He does not give a fuck. He says exactly what he thinks, and I think that's awesome.
See, that's another thing is that I tried doing videos and I felt like I had so much pressure to do like 10 minutes, to say something, and I'm like, I'd rather stream with people.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about like a lot of things. Like, you know, like I'm an actor, right? So it's like a lot of work you do by yourself. And I just get so much anxiety. But if I got a friend to come over and work on that same scene with me, suddenly I'm free.
Yeah, you need to have the bouncy ball with somebody else.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know what that is, but some people, I mean, you look at a guy like Mahler, right? He puts in, 4-hour videos, and that's just part 16. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, wow, man, you're just so dedicated, so focused.
I would love to pick his brain and be like, how do you do this, man?
I know.
It takes you 6 months, but yet you make, artwork.
Seriously. I want to know what his background is, because he has such a knowledge of writing. I'm very curious, because he's so entertaining, and he can go for hours and hours and hours. He's on FNT tonight, and just like, it's fascinating. And that Welsh accent is so charming.
Yeah, I don't really get to hear a lot of Welsh, so Mahler's like my, my default. So
I couldn't pick it out of a lineup. I just happen to know that he said this evening that he was Welsh. So
yeah, I mean, other than Michael Sheen,
Michael Sheen.
Yeah,
I know Rob Brydon. Do you know who Rob Brydon is?
Yes.
I love him from the Trip movies. Those are great. And he talks about being Welsh a lot. And I guess Anthony Hopkins as well is Welsh.
Yeah, the thing is that their accents change so much during the years that it morphs into something else. And you're like, you're Welsh? And it's like, I think you're just British.
Me too. And it's like, if you look at a map, like Wales is it's only like a few miles away from London. Like it's not like, it's like Connecticut to New York. It's like, it's right there. But I guess the culture there is so distinct, because they're technically like a Celtic culture, like the Irish or the Scottish. So they have this pride about themselves. So you're like, I don't know, is it really that different? They're like, you don't take that back. Take that back.
Oh yeah. Just me saying that, they sound just British, that'd be a big insult to the
I guess it's technically true, because it's Great Britain. So it's like, it's everything. But yeah, I don't think that they would be too pleased.
No.
All right, I want to get back on a few of these chats here. Elvis says Thomas Jane was superb, in reference to The Expanse, but that was rarely mentioned because people were distracted by everything interesting that Miller does. What do you think about that?
Is that from the season or last season?
I think, I mean, I guess his whole performance.
Yeah.
I think is Elvis's point. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I haven't thought about The Expanse since I watched it just like 3 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, I like Thomas Jane a lot. He's in, I don't know, you ever seen Boogie Nights? You ever seen the movie Boogie Nights?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's so, when he just shows up and stuff, he's so good. He's so interesting. And in The Expanse, I think, was the first time I ever saw him as really like the centerpiece of something, It was really about his performance. And I agree with Elvis. I thought he was superb. I love the character arc. I love how he's just kind of this dirtbag, and he's still kind of a dirtbag all the way through, but he's sort of like relinquished that, for like a greater purpose. I fucking love that. And I'd like to take this opportunity additionally to welcome the great Vigilante Williamson. Hello, sir. V-Dubs, you there with us, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing. Can you hear me now? I didn't turn my fucking fan power on my damn interface on.
Okay, man.
Shit.
How you doing?
Man, how you doing? I'm good.
Right on, man. Good to have you here, as always. We haven't streamed in a little while, so I'm glad you're here.
No, it's been a while. It's been a little bit. I'd probably do the intro just to keep it consistent.
Please.
Vigilante Williamson with another episode on Foulball Productions. This is actually the first of this particular stream that I've done.
Well, this is the first of its kind. So
okay, so there we go. First episode.
I just was seriously just restlessly just laying in bed. Like I popped on like an episode of the Twilight Zone, and when that didn't satisfy me, I'm like, okay, I think I should just go stream and just like get something off. I don't know, just talk, because I can't settle. I couldn't settle down, so I was like, I need to go be with my people and say what's up.
Yeah.
So how you been, man?
Just another Redshirt. I very much boomered the audio. I very much did. Totally did. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't turn everything on.
Oh, look at this, Eric. This is going to be a great impromptu stream.
We'll see.
I'm all about it. Let's ride this wave.
How is USDutchKitty? I don't think I've streamed with you before. If I did, it was only
No.
a second.
No. Also, Eric K knows this, but I should tell everybody else. Just call me Dutch.
Dutch.
Just call me Dutch. I mean, for you Red Dead Redemption fans.
Okay, Dutch. All right.
Yeah, because Dutch Kitty is kind of like, there's so many kitties in the Phantom Menace. So
Moira Kitty.
I like calling you Dutch. It's the only Dutch I know is from Predator. It's just Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Some people, they're kind of like, oh, Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but I'll take that too.
Are you a gamer, Dutch?
Casual, but role-playing games, like Red Dead Redemption, Final Fantasy, anything that really piques my interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big Fallout fan.
Oh yes, definitely Fallout. Yes.
Yeah, I was playing New Vegas. I've played New Vegas, I don't know, 40 times through, whatever it is, and I was just playing a little run through earlier. It's funny. It's like you almost get like, sometimes some of like the little pockets of the game, you're like, I gotta go save this woman from the death claws. Okay.
Yeah, the sludge through quests.
I've done this a million times. Like it's like, you've done it all a million times. What are you bored by? I don't know. It's this weird like chore / pleasure I get out of it. I can't explain it, but I'm a big old fan of the Fallout universe.
Yeah, it is like for me when I got Cyberpunk 2077. And
what? We can get into, let's get into that in a minute, because I was listening to Quarter Black talk about that tonight, and I was yelling at the phone. Elvis is asking if you've seen the remake of Predator. I assume you're talking about the most recent one with the autistic kid who's like got the power for the Predator to level up or whatever.
Was that like in 2017?
17, I think. The Shane Black directed like pile of shit.
I did not see that. No,
I didn't either. In fact, all I've seen is like Mahler's video on the subject, and I feel like I got more pleasure out of that than I could have ever gotten out of that new movie.
I think that's the only video I've seen on it, or like Mahler. And did Drinker do a video? Someone,
Drinker did. Drinker's a big Predator fan, so close to home.
I feel like those are the only two videos I've seen.
To that,
the movie.
I was listening to Mahler talk about it wasn't on FNT, it was Gary's stream the other day. I guess that was his Wednesday's anniversary stream.
Yeah.
When Mahler was talking about there's going to be a Predator show and an Alien show. Have you guys heard anything about this?
No,
but it's a shame that that's your reaction. That's my reaction too, because when you first said it, my very first initial child thought was because that could be so fucking cool.
Yeah,
but just know it won't be, and that's sad.
Yeah, when our default setting reaction is oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck, you could do something really special with either franchise as a series. Something very, very special.
I like the idea. I really do. But it was funny how it was delivered. You're like, oh, this is gonna be shit. And you're like, oh yeah, it probably is. It's like that childlike excitement in you is just dashed immediately. Oh man, right. I forgot what year it is.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what I was talking earlier about Winx and everything. It's kind of like that child expectation of you hope that they would at least give the essence of what it is. And then they're kind of like, no, we're just going to turn it into poop.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what we were talking about just a minute ago. Just that people get involved in a franchise they have no passion for. And so they just turn it into a million different things because they don't really, it's not like they have a direction. There's that great quote from Peter Jackson about Lord of the Rings, where he's like, anything that wasn't in Tolkien, we didn't put in. We didn't include any of our own point of view. We just wanted to make the best, rendition of his work, which is that's what these people should be doing with these other IPs, or what it goes a Predator or Winx or whatever it is. Just whatever the creator intended, whatever the fans will respond to, that's what you should include. Anything else like leave it out. Like apparently in the Predator movie, there's like some global warming implications and shit like that. Like they're coming to Earth because like the planet's going to be too hot. Like it's going to be super hot. So then they can thrive there or something. And you're just like, oh my God, like you guys just can't stay out of your own way. Can you? Like it's impossible for you to not shoot yourself in the foot every step of the way.
They don't have the talent. They just do not have the talent and skill. So they have to use all of this stuff to make up for it.
I don't know if that's what it is because talent is a very fluid thing. Now, like I'm an actor, so talent is a big part of the universe I stepped into. And I used to think that talent was the most important thing. Talent was what it was. You either had it or you didn't. And at the end of the day, I realized talent really is relatively irrelevant. Talent is innate. Either you do or you don't. But what matters is craft. And it's like craft is what will get you to a goal. And the biggest impediment to craft is ego. If you think, oh, that's good enough, or I'm so good, it doesn't matter how good I'm good, like whatever, they'll love it anyway because I'm awesome. Like that's where things get fucked up. And I think that's what a lot of these properties are. They're like, they don't have a connection with it. And they're like, whatever, it's Predator. Who cares? It's Star Wars. It sells itself. And they just believe, like the ego just becomes this giant bubble in their brain. And it clouds any kind of logic or humility that they might have. And it makes it impossible to foster any potential talent. So it's like talent. I mean, yeah, but like it's narcissism that's crushing this our IPs in our industry. It's all that's what it really is, the demon we should be slaying.
Agree.
Yes.
But I guess whether it's craft, skill, talent, which they all can be similar but different, you know what I mean? Because you're right in that craft is something that you work on and something that you build and something that takes time. I feel like they rely on a lot, and it could be whether it's the chicken and egg. Maybe they are so narcissistic that they can't help but to think agenda first, or maybe they realize, oh man, I'm a limited writer, so let me rely on agenda, or maybe different. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't have that conscious thought, but the wires fire in that direction.
Yeah.
You don't think like, oh, I'm inadequate. You're like, oh, social justice will fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
I'll bring up another point that's actually goes straight into this, even though that y'all don't know really about it. Do you guys remember back in the 90s the book series Animorphs?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it got green lighted for a movie finally, and it's being done by Picture Start Studios, brand new studio company, production company, and right now, for what I know, they have one of the executive producers from the Hunger Games movies in the project. Okay, they have full reign of asking the creators, Catherine Applegate and her husband, of like, hey, let's write the script together, all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be, as I think they should do it in the 90s. If that nostalgia, but also it just makes more sense to do it in the 90s.
Sure.
But just merely months after this announcement was made, and my part of the fandom were like, it's either going to be awesome or crap. Catherine and Michael Grant, they left. They left the production. And Michael Grant basically said in his own way that they weren't calling us for script writing advice. And to me, you're talking about the narcissism. It's like, oh, we don't need these, middle grade writers, wife writers, where we have, we're going to have this potential, multi-million-dollar hit.
Yeah.
Of something that is kind of on the, I feel like I can't speak now. But just
I think I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
It comes back, in my opinion, to what Doomcock always says, like, without respect, we reject.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's like they don't have respect for the property. They're not looking at it like it's Hemingway Tolstoy or something like that. They're looking at like, all right, we got this. I mean, whatever those fools who wrote this think, who cares? We can make this interesting because we're powerful Hollywood people, okay, blah, blah, blah. I think that's really the energy that kills these things, is that they don't respect it. And so they don't have any interest in like knowing what the nuts and bolts that made it really good are. So they just, throw that all away.
Yeah, and especially for Animorphs, it's diverse cast from the get-go. You don't have to worry about that. But when I try to say, hey, they might think it's not diverse enough. They might have to make one of them gay in the 90s. These are supposed to be 13-year-old kids.
Right. It's personal agenda too. I mean, you see like certain networks have certain agendas, like, CW and Netflix, it's like they're just crazy about gay representation. Like they need it in everything. And then other networks are more about Black representation. It's like it's all personal politics that kind of takes precedence. And I think a lot of it, what it has to do is, we see a lot of diversity in casting, right? We see these sort of like maybe people that are not that they're necessarily unqualified. Like I point to someone like Ruth Negga from The Preacher. Like she's an Oscar nominee. She's obviously a good actress, but she's not right for that role. And to me, she stands out every time I watch her in Preacher. I'm like, she's like my least favorite part of this show. And it just doesn't work. It's not that she's unqualified. It just doesn't work. So it's like, I think what they're doing, it doesn't fit. So it's like they're forcing these things in where it just doesn't belong. It's not that like there's anything wrong with that. It's just that you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole. And it's like, as hard as you push that in there, it's not going to fit. There's no reason. We don't need that. We don't need this. Just allow these things to happen naturally. Then a great example is the show of The Expanse. Talk about representation. That's perfect. It doesn't beat you over the head with it. It doesn't force it in there. It doesn't put it on a pedestal. Like, hey, everybody, look at our representation. It's just like it fits. It makes sense. And here it is.
Yeah. They never talk about it.
They don't highlight it. And speaking of here it is, let's welcome Just Another Redshirt to the stream. Hello, sir.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you.
Just Another Redshirt. You're the Redshirt. How you doing, man?
Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Right
You've been talking about talent and craft, and the reason I jumped on and wanted to jump on is I'm not a good actor. I've been on stage, but
cool.
I've been a singer. I was a singer for years through college, and
I can tell with that sultry voice you have.
So there's the talent. The voice is there. So I have a voice that is good for speaking, and it's usually good for singing. If you have an ear, you can turn a speaking voice into a singing voice. The parallel that makes sense to me is that you can have the voice, you can have the talent, but you have to have the training and the discipline to sing and use your voice as well as you can. The voice is an instrument. You play it. And when I started to learn how to use my voice as though I were playing an instrument, my singing got better. And now I think that's comparable to what you're talking about with acting talent, but craft is what you have to make your talent work for a role. Would you say that's true?
100%. There's this misnomer about acting that I kind of like to touch on every once in a while, is that I started in New York, where theater is like the big thing. And out here in LA, it's all film and television. And in New York, they kind of have this like chip on their shoulder about film and television acting. And they say, film and television, you only have to get it right. You only have to get it right once. In theater, we have to get it right every time. We have to get it right, for the whole time. I'm like, no, you don't understand. For film and TV, you have to get it right every time, because you don't know what take they're going to use. You don't know what coverage is going to get put out there. And you could end up looking like an asshole. You're not the editor. You're just the one in front of the camera. So your craft is what allows you to flourish in those environments, because it's the consistency, it's the professionalism, it's the job, it's the actual work of getting it done. Talent is like a wild horse, it's a wild stallion, but you can't ride that stallion into town. You need to break that thing. You need to control it. And you need to put it inside of a box. And that's what craft is.
Yeah. Yeah.
in my opinion. You know,
I
it's
agree.
the work. It's the actual thing you have to show up and be able to do. If you're not feeling it, so what? We have to shoot today. You gotta make it work.
Yeah, there's a difference between, you know, like Ray Fisher and Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, you're talking about theater boy, you know, chip on his shoulder, goes into a movie, thinks, you know, well, what we know, and then he has to cry foul. And it's like, oh, if you want to get in the big leagues, this is going to happen. You're not going to be, you know, on the stage, and everything is like this. And
that might be with his. That might just be a little bit big for your britches, because I've seen some kids do, like, they got a little big, a little fast, and you kind of like, it's like you see them kind of like making rookie mistakes, but like on a giant stage, you know. It might be like that, because it's, you know, it's part of the process too. It's like, you look at like comedians. It's like any comedian who kind of got too big, like before they were ready.
Mm-hmm.
They ultimately implode because they're not ready. It takes years and years. You know, you look at someone like Amy Schumer. It's like a Bill Burr would never go through what Amy Schumer went through. You know, it's impossible. He's bulletproof at this point. He's been through so much, and by the time he finally made it, it had been 15, 20 years. You know, Amy, all due respect, she got pushed ahead, you know, a little fast. So she wasn't ready when all the backlash came, because she really wasn't ready to be in that position. She got pushed to the front of the line for, you know, whatever reasons. Point your fingers where you like. But I mean, that's what it is. It's like it's a job, you know, as much as it's anything else. Like, being a professional entertainer is a job, and there's creative and professional, you know, it's like any other job. It's like you have to have those political savvy, you know. I mean, if you walk into a bakery, you know, and you just start talking shit to the head baker, it's like you're not going to stick around for very long. It's like anything else. You got to be a professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just another Redshirt. Do you still sing? Are you still a singer?
No, I haven't actually done any performing other than, you know, karaoke type stuff, just for the hell of it, for years.
What kind of singing did you do?
In college, I was in an a cappella group for 4 years.
Cool, really?
Doing vocal jazz, like think Manhattan Transfer type music. In fact, we stole one of their arrangements. We did.
I don't know what
Jive.
that is. What is
Manhattan Transfer? Was a quartet. They were around from the 70s through the 80s into the 90s. I mean, they were around forever. They're usually billed as easy listening, which is nonsense.
Oh, okay.
They're vocal jazz. They did all kinds of things. They did a song "Birdland," which is a tribute to Charlie Parker.
Okay.
And it is, I mean, everybody, when I was in college, everybody was doing Birdland. We didn't do Birdland because it's like, well, everybody else is doing it. So
right.
what are we going to do it for?
It's like in acting school, everyone's doing Streetcar Named Desire. You're like, I'm not doing that.
So write this one down. Here's one. If you want to know what they were, Manhattan Transfer, A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, which is spelled Berkeley, but it's London, so it's pronounced Barclay. I still get goosebumps every time I listen to that song. End of that song. It is dissonant harmonies. We tried to sing it when I was in college. My male a cappella group was going to do the baritone and tenor parts, and the female a cappella group on campus was going to do alto and soprano. And half of each group could not sing those harmonies. They're so dissonant. They are just impossible unless you have, and this again goes down to discipline, and in music, your ear. You know you are supposed to sound horrible next to the person next to you because they're singing the wrong interval from yours. It's not harmonic, it's dissonant. And it's really hard to do. And I'm better at singing harmony than lead. I sang first tenor, and first tenor is not usually the lead in a cappella or in barbershop. The second tenor is the lead usually. And I don't have that voice anymore. My voice is almost an octave lower than it was when I was in college.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I wanted that made me think about another thing about talent, is that talent does not equate to success. I think we kind of have a misconception about that the most talented people are the ones that are working. That's not really the case. I mean, talent is kind of ever present. You can find talent in a lot of different places. Like I met these girls, they're from Arizona, and we were working this event out in Malibu, and they were college kids, and like 4 of them could sing like angels, and they just didn't have like whatever that like desire or need to be like successful singer was. So they were doing other stuff, but they could sing like nothing I'd ever heard. It was just so beautiful. They were so good. It's like the successful artist is a lot of things. Talent is only one of them. You know, I think we have that kind of misconception. Like there's this giant pool of people trying, and then the powers that be pick the talented ones. That's really not how it goes.
No, it's definitely not that. I definitely opened up a can of worms. When I was referring to talent, I just meant the ability to write good material.
Oh, and by the way, brother, I wasn't trying to discount any points. I was just going off.
Yeah, I know. Because I mean, you know, what do they say? Hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Hard work. I think hard work beats talent almost every time, because it's like, you know, if you can show up, if some genius, I'll use acting as an example. Some genius actor can show up on set and we'll do 3 brilliant takes and 7 shitty takes, but some very like diligent craftsman will give you 7 pretty good takes and 3 fine takes. You're going to take the 7 take guy every time. It's just more reliable. It's just better.
Agreed.
He's a professional. He can tell the story. You know, it's like, one of the things, it was like Redshirt, you just touched on it earlier, but it was something that really struck a chord with me was, do you know Walton Goggins, the actor?
No.
He's you know his face. He was he's in the Hateful Eight. He's like that kind of racist dude who ends up like helping him and Sam Jackson at the end kind of end up shooting it out with everybody.
Oh, okay. Yep.
He says he doesn't think of himself as an actor. He thinks of himself as a storyteller. Now that might sound pretentious, but from an acting point of view, it's a very insightful way to use your instrument, if you will, instead of like just being like, I'm just going to recite the lines it's about me. It's not about you. It's about the story. And if you think about it like that, then you can really accomplish your goals. It's like this whole, you know, fluid process of like serving the whole story, the bigger thing. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm babbling, but I hope that all makes sense.
No, actually, no, you're not.
Okay, good.
Because you if your idea of acting is you emote, you generate emotions. Well, yeah, that helps. I mean, you know, I'm good at angry and I'm good at excited and I suck at a lot of other emotions, so they're not believable. But if you want me to be part of a story, and it's not so important that I give you the impression that I'm feeling something, but I'm there to have a point and drive something forward.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to be able to do that than you know, Laurence Olivier giving you, you know that my heart is breaking and I'm out of my mind and I'm King Lear or whatever. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. I can't even watch it. Never mind recite it.
It's like the difference between like a singer who, you know, really makes you feel something, like a Whitney Houston, or like a Christina Aguilera who's showing off.
Yeah.
You know, like
Whitney, or like the Charlie Daniels Band song that I love to do in karaoke, which is Uneasy Rider, which was just barely sung. It's telling a story to music. Right. It's almost a recitation.
Yep.
And the key is emphasis, timing, and getting the words right where they need to be.
And that's the craft of it. And the purpose of telling a story of you know, respect for the audience, to bring it all back around. That's what makes it sing. That's what makes it work. Is like, It's for them. It's to tell a story. It's not about you. Like, it will be about you when it's all said and done, because you did it. But it's like, in the moment, what your purpose should be as a performer is the audience, to give them something. It's service.
Absolutely.
Hey, you know, I have a question that I meant to ask earlier when Dutch was talking about Animorphs, but it kind of ties in. Why do these franchises insist on niche, or why do these companies insist on niche franchises? Okay, I get Star Wars is a big franchise, Doctor Who, Star Trek, cool. These are massive, multi-year, multi-decade franchises. But it's the next level down franchise. Like, why are you concerned with them? And if you are, why aren't you servicing the fans? Because there's no purpose. Like the perfect example that everyone loves, I still haven't seen, is Cobra Kai.
Mhm.
If you're going to do a Cobra Kai, make it fan service. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of doing a Ghostbusters 2016. I don't get that. Why? If you have Ghostbusters is a nice franchise, but it's not Star Wars.
No.
So what's the point of even doing a Ghostbusters franchise reboot if the point is to make money? If the point is to make something that people enjoy, if you're not going to do fan service. If this isn't going to be a fan service vehicle, why are you even doing it? It's basically the question. And I don't understand that at all.
I honestly, I think you can look to the answer in the Star Wars franchise. I mean, I think like it's the best example. It's like it's almost like Game of Thrones. Like it's like Hitler. You can use that as example for so many different lessons. And I think it's like why do you think Kathleen Kennedy pissed all over Star Wars? Do you think it's because she was completely inept and couldn't have done it, or do you think she just saw a cash register? I think it was just she saw a cash register and like. She felt that as long as it had the Star Wars logo on it, she could pump it full of whatever bullshit she thought was important, and then it would sell no matter what. Like, she didn't respect the fans. And I think it's the same thing that happens with, Ghostbusters or anything. What USDutchKitty was talking, what Dutch was talking about with Wing. It's the same thing. It's like they know there's money to be made here, and that's as far as they think about it. It's like they have like a winning lottery ticket and it's going to cash, and no matter what. And I really think that's where it comes from, because I can't see any other explanation, because it's not pure incompetence. It's not like they bungled it. Like the Fallout franchise is a good example, like where they bungled that for years. It wasn't just money. It was just lack of, it was incompetence. These examples we're talking about, they're not incompetence. Like, it's incompetence in a way, but not purely just they tried to hit the target and missed. They didn't even consider the target. They're like, this is already free, and now I can do what I really want to do with it. And that's what I believe the reason is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Whoever.
Yeah. It's like back in 2000s when Disney bought Power Rangers. It's the exact same thing. They thought they could just turn it around, which I will give them. Again, this is another franchise I love. They had some great seasons. Some people still talk about them today that are in the fandom. But 2009, 9, it started to go downhill quick, and you could tell that they're just kind of like, we got to work a little bit harder. It wasn't even that people were leaving for other jobs. The same writers were still there, the same directors, everything. Yeah. It's just that they're kind of like the quick buck is like, this not as fun as it used to be. Or is that pulling the toys or whatever we do? We don't know. We'll just sell it back.
Yeah. I think the other thing too to consider is all of this is very hard. It's not to make an excuse for anybody's failure, but it is very difficult to write television, to write movies, to do any of this, to sing, to act. It's hard. And so if you find an excuse that satisfies your, weak ego as to why you can stop here, why you can stop adapting Ghostbusters in an interesting way, why you don't need to do that second draft of the Power Ranger script, why you can, just churn out Star Wars movies instead of, like really dwelling on it for 4 years and making something really interesting. It's partially because it's hard, and here's a quick out. Here's an easy out. I'll just appeal to agenda and we'll just cash checks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's something I was going to say, and you just touched on something I think is related to it. It is hard, and it's hard to identify what is a franchise, because I would argue that Ghostbusters isn't a franchise any more than, let's say, Caddyshack is. Now,
I'd say
Ghostbusters.
there's a little more. I know I completely understand what you're getting at, but I'd say there's a little more to the Ghostbusters simply because there was the first movie, which is excellent. The second movie, which is nostalgic. It's not good, but it has like nostalgia attached to it. There was also a TV show, and then there was a very successful line of toys. So
and that helps.
Pieces, yeah, you take all those pieces, and like you technically have a franchise in the eyes of some people.
Right. But then what I would say is if you look at the people who made the sequel who didn't come close to the original,
no,
they didn't, because the original was lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Okay. The original was more than a sum of the parts. It was, I don't think they knew what they had. And Caddyshack is definitely that, because they barely had a movie.
Yeah.
When they were done, they were like, we need to fit, the studio was, I watched the documentary on it. The studio was yelling at them. The studio was ready to pull the plug. The writers were tearing their hair out. Nobody knew what they were doing. Bill Murray was operating without a script. He was just being filmed, ad-libbing everything. And from what I understand, the powers that be underneath, on the movie, not in the studio, sat down and went, okay, guys, we really have to give something to the studio. They are about ready to pull the plug on us. We don't have a story.
Right.
We have a lot of footage and we have some very funny stuff, but how the hell are we going to make this into a movie?
Yeah.
And somebody suggested, well, Bill's great, and that bit he did with the gopher is hysterical. Why don't we abandon the caddy tournament as the point of the movie, and let's film some stuff where we follow Bill and his battle with that gopher. We put more of the gopher in. We have Bill going after the gopher, and in the end, what this movie is really about is the groundskeeper trying to eradicate the gopher from the golf course. So the climax of the movie is not the ball going in the cup in the caddy tournament, although that's a big deal. The climax of the movie is when Bill Murray's explosives explode all over the course, and they, da 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 dum dum boom, and things are exploding, and people are going and so they rewrote the movie in the last month, and they filmed new stuff, and they repurposed the whole story. So that is part of how that movie became a great movie. That's how it became the success it was. Then you have to try and follow that. It's like, well, we can't do it the way they did it, because they basically screwed around and almost failed, and then came up with this saving, the throw from center field to all the way to home plate to get the guy out, and we won the game.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that again. I mean, come on.
It's kind of like Jaws, where if Jaws went off the way they intended, it would not have been a success, because they would have had to use that big, stupid mechanical thing. That
rubber shark.
Yeah. Which looked dumb as fuck. So it's almost like, lightning in a bottle. It was like almost a mistake that it worked out. So it's like,
yes,
you can't duplicate that. And it's like, and you know what? Jaws is a great example, because it's like, boy, oh boy, does every sequel to that movie just suck.
Yes.
Here's another question. Should we even have had the hope for franchises? Like you brought up how Ghostbusters is a franchise. I would say RoboCop is also not a franchise either. And I would have said before this Cobra Kai thing hit, Karate Kid wasn't a franchise until Cobra Kai made it a franchise. So that I think the potential for something like that is why they tried to continue to reboot and redo franchises. But ever since it was maybe a few months ago on Friday Night Tights, I can't remember. I think this guy's name was Blue Drake or something. But he mentioned about like how he was just done with franchise and just tired. He was so done. He was like, we're just focused on creating new franchises, finding new franchises, and games and movies, whatever. And it's like, you know what? Is part of the problem us expecting anything out of franchise? I see Elvis in the chat with the Yuri playing Standard Warfare, poison as much as possible, contain must contaminate the largest sources. So if that's the case, then we need to just go to different sources. If they're going to contaminate everything, just like, all right, we can create our own, or we can just find the old stuff, or we can just do whatever. But I think the problem is we don't need a new remake of insert franchise, or we don't need another season of Batman the Animated Series. We need we just need a new characters, a new franchise. When was the last time we had a new franchise?
Dude, I was thinking about this when Mahler was talking about all these TV shows that are coming out, the Alien show, the Predator show. And I was thinking about that, and I guarantee I know why they're doing shit like this. It's because what these people, so Hollywood, like, originality is like the exception to the rule, right? Everyone out here, like, they do it for actors. Like, we are all taught to mimic what worked, and that's how you model your career. That's how you figure out what headshots. That's you do this this guy, it worked for him, so you do it like that. That real work for that person. That's how everything is imitation of what already worked. Like, that's the whole model out here, right? So originality is like this freak occurrence that happens every once in a while. So all these Hollywood studios now, what they're looking at, they're seeing like, okay, people aren't watching our new shit. They're not watching Terminator Dark Fate. They're not watching Rise of Skywalker. What are they watching? Well, on our streaming services, the numbers of these movies is up, up, up. So let's make more of that. That's all they see. They don't see why. They don't understand the core of why. They're like oil prospectors with a divining rod. They're literally just like hoping they understand the confluences of the universe. It's like, no, idiot. What we liked about that was it had an original idea. It had an original vision. It was unique. It had character. It had soul. That's why we like it. And that's why we're going back to watch it now, because it's reliable. We know what we already like. We know it's going to work. We know we're going to get that satisfying experience. We know we're going to have fun with it. We're not going to have to be subjected to your bullshit. That's the issue. That's the biggest thing, is they just don't they don't even know what the hell they're doing. Like, honestly, like, I meet these people. I used to work at on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, and right next door to where I used to work is this place called CBS Radford. It's a CBS studio. And it's like, you'd meet these people, and you're like, these are the people that make the biggest TV shows in the world. This is them. They're just people. They could be selling fucking vacuum cleaners. They could be auto mechanics. They're not special. They just have a job. You're like, oh, this is
all right.
Smoke and mirrors.
I want to throw this one out, and I may have to run for cover after this. But okay, you can see my icon, my screen name. My first love was Star Trek, and Star Trek is arguably the original franchise. Arguably. But I'd argue this, because I remember when I was
to be fair to the history of Hollywood, there was like the Thin Man movies and stuff like that. And there was Charlie Chaplin. There were technically franchises. In fact, I think the first franchise ever was Alice in Wonderland. I think that was behind the Looking Glass. I think I don't want to derail your point. Sorry, I'm being an asshole.
No, it's okay. But I would argue that Charlie Chaplin was not a franchise. He was his own. He was a great. And he could do a movie, and they would sign him for a movie, and people would enjoy it. My particular favorite is Buster Keaton.
He's the shit.
He is amazing. But I'd argue that there's no such thing as a Buster Keaton franchise, because it had to have Buster Keaton. Star Wars didn't have to have Obi-Wan Kenobi, because he was only in the first movie, Alec Guinness. Star Trek did not have to have James T. Kirk the whole time. But Buster Keaton movie needed Buster Keaton. Charlie Chaplin movie had to have Charlie Chaplin. That wasn't a franchise. That was an actor who was a great. They were up head and shoulders above.
Yeah, okay.
Star Trek was a franchise. It became toys. It became a fan base. It became conventions. I was in high school when Star Trek the Motion Picture came out. I was taking an elective English class in science fiction, and my science fiction English teacher laid on a bus to go to New York City to watch Star Trek the Motion Picture for anybody who wanted to just go. I went, yes, I'm going. So I got on the bus with about a dozen other students and the teacher, and we were driven to New York City, went to a theater, saw it within a month of its premiere, and I was very disappointed. I was, oh my God, this is not anything. I mean, I recognize the characters, but this is not anything like what I remember. Now, I'd argue, and here's the one that I think is going to cause the argument.
It's fine. I want to hear it. I just want to, because I just want to need a little context. What year was that? When
1979, I believe. Okay. I'd already seen Star Wars in 77. And here I am in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and I'm going, I've seen Star Wars. This is not that. This is not blowing me away at all. Okay. I've seen it recently, and I'm like, this is a wonderful nostalgia piece. I love that long shot where Scotty is flying the shuttle with Kirk going on to get him aboard, and they go past the Enterprise slowly, and you get to see the Enterprise with all the lights and space dock, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Look at the model. Look at it's the star. It's the Enterprise. I'm going, yes, that's amazing. But in 1979, I hadn't been away from Star Trek long enough for that to really have an impact.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd argue that if Wrath of Khan had not been made, Star Trek would not have continued as a franchise. That movie would have ended it. That's going to be the controversial idea. Would that have ended Star Trek if they hadn't made Wrath of Khan, which is a brilliant movie, and that turbocharged Star Trek as a movie series?
I wish we had like Tom from Midnight Sadge or Gary here to like this, because I don't have like an opinion, but I know what you're saying is really like cause for big discussion. But it could be, I don't really know the lore of Star Trek so well. So what I will say though, what I think the Wrath of Khan is a great example of is someone who was an outsider to the material and had respect for something that greater than himself and really worked to create something amazing, right? Yep. I mean, it's essentially the quintessential Star Trek fan, Star Trek movie from someone who wasn't a Star Trek fan. And that's exactly what we've been talking about this whole time is like, why can't they get Ghostbusters right? Why can't they get Wink right? Why can't they get these things right? It's because these people don't have respect for the franchise itself. And this guy, I forgot the director's name, Redshirt, if you could help me out.
Oh, I don't. It's not one I remember, and he came out of nowhere.
I don't know.
What I do know is when he got the job, when he knew he was going to have to do this, apparently he went back and started watching Star Trek television episodes, and that's where
he found Khan. He found Khan as a villain.
Exactly. And he decided, hey, he was great. And they didn't do much with him. It was only an hour, it was only one episode.
No, one episode.
Right. Why don't we do Khan later? And that was a brilliant decision. And people like to say, he just yanked something out of the series and he redid it. I'm like, no, he didn't. He wrote an entirely new story from a character that was in one television episode.
Yeah.
That was
a story too.
Yes, it is. Because Khan, by the time they find him, has every reason to be an absolutely implacable enemy.
It makes so much sense. It's such an interesting development of that lore. It's like Vigilante. It'd be like taking like remember in the Ghostbusters 2 that weird guy who was like Vigo's or whatever that guy's name was, like assistant who like worshipped him. It's Nico.
Oh, he was the curator in the museum. My God, yes.
If you took him and made him the villain in the most recent like Ghostbusters movie, that would be interesting, right? You're like, okay, like you took something that like it pulls you back into the whole story instead of making
from the four. You
pull
from before.
Yeah, or whatever. Like that's interesting. It's like even what they tried to do in The Last of Us 2, at least like there's something attached to the prior franchise that's like,
True.
at least it's an idea that makes sense. It's connected. Like it's not a good, obviously it's a terrible execution, but at least the idea is like mildly
You know
like
something
alright.
about The Last of Us 2 as a creative too, because I make music and stuff like that. So I actually, and I was going to do one of the first things I was going to do on the channel was like a review, not really a review because I never played the game, but just a commentary on everything that happened. And there's this part of me that is just as a creative absolutely understands the risk Neil Druckmann was trying to take. Like in his head, he was trying to make a fucking supernova masterpiece, right? Where people were going to look and think like, man, this was very important.
Sure.
And this was a game. And like this was an ego thing, but this was a guy who he did write part of the first game. I think he may have had a co-writer too. I can't remember.
He
that.
led the development as I understand it, right?
Yeah, he did. So it's not like he didn't have experience making a good game. I think he just said, man, I want to make this very immersive in his own head, by his own worldview, important creative experience, and he just bungled it. And had he not been similar to Rian Johnson, had he just said, you know what, I fucked up. Or you know what? I tried to make my vision. Everyone's not going to understand it or like it. I understand it. I understand why people like the original characters and how they were in the first game. We tried to do something different. If he would have just did that, I think people would have accepted it. I think it'd be, oh man, you know what? You tried something different. It didn't work. Well,
the EFAP guys, I mean, I don't know if anyone's talked about. I feel like the people who created The Last of Us 2 have not talked about The Last of Us 2 as much as the EFAP guys have. But they brought up a point multiple times, which is that if you just put that big switch at the end, it would have worked. You know, if you had to walk through this character's shoes for like, 80% of the game, and then you realize that the person that this person's been pursuing the whole time was the guy, it would have had that impact that they were going for. You would have been like, no, don't make me do this. It would have had this like, oh, like, because you're attached to this character now and you feel this person's like the whole thing could have really clicked. But it was the cheapness of how they went for it, how they tried to just have like, ooh, aren't you shocked? Aren't you? It's just like, no, I'm disgusted.
Yeah. And that's why everybody keeps comparing Last of Us 2 to Dark Fate. It's, within the first, Dark Fate was within the first 5 minutes. Last of Us Part 2, first couple of hours that the shocker comes in.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to just go along.
Right.
Afterward.
That's a great point. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think it's because that agenda thing that lives in their brain. And it's like, I can't express to you guys how much like it permeates everything in the entertainment industry out here. Like I would be in acting classes, right? In a good acting school, where I really respected the instructors and I respected all my classmates as actors. They were great, but it was like every 15 minutes, every half hour, like some kind of identity politics thing would come up. It was ever present. Like they don't see another way of thinking. Like it is just so, it's like the echo chamber like analogy is so perfect because it's exactly what it is. Like they all just agree with each other and bounce ideas off each other. And it's everywhere. Like I honestly feel like they're still authentically confused as to why people don't like the things that they do. Cause it's like to them, it's the only way to think. And the only people who don't think like this are like Neanderthals from like the red states.
That's so scary. Like, how do you make, like, I've been wondering this because, and I didn't mean to cut everyone off, but people were, I can't remember which stream I was on. I think it was actually this past Monday talking with Park Cars on Comics Division. Shout out to Comics Division. But we were talking about what do you do about the extreme people? Like, how do you convince the extreme people to just tolerate other people? Just, no one has to agree. Everyone is not going to agree. But how do you convince extreme people to just like, okay, realize there are people with different point of views in them? And my thought was they're lost. You can only convince the normal, like, middle of the ground people, like people who are on the extremes. There's nothing that can be done because you can't, like, some of them may come along, but it'll happen happenstance. There's nothing you can do to try to convince somebody who has this extreme worldview. But then the other thing is like, well, if there's so many people that have this worldview, you have to do something, right? Because it's like, I'm not going.
You don't have to do anything until it starts to affect the world. See, that's how I feel about it. It's like I don't really care what you think or what you do. It's just once it starts to affect me or it starts to affect the people around me, that's when it's a problem. Think whatever you want to think. It's fine, but it's just like when you start to act on it, when you start to like, I'm not going to hire white men, or I'm only going to hire whatever the hell your politics dictate that you do. That's when it becomes an issue. But it's like if you just think about it, I don't care what you think.
Well, also because the vocal minority is so damn loud that when you try to even be apolitical, they just rear up and say, oh my God, I support you. Why don't you just do what I say?
Yes, like so much. Like that was the thing. I always tried to walk the line. I always tried to be apolitical. Like I don't even know where I was standing at the time, but I just try not to get into it. And that's an issue. Like you have to pick a side. It's a war. It's like, it's not a war. Who are you fighting? What's the victory?
Yeah, and it's like for me, I love playing Dungeons & Dragons, and I love the show Critical Role.
Yeah,
they're a great set of actors and everything else. But the problem with the fandom is so far left, and the cast tries to be in the middle. They try to so hard. But they know they have to pander to the far left.
Right. It's Hollywood. They're Hollywood actors. They probably are on that side anyway. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I mean, isn't the girl, what's her, Laura Bailey? Laura Bailey,
yeah.
She's the voice of
Abby.
Abby from Last of Us 2, right?
Yeah, and Ashley Johnson, she's on there, and all of them have been in things that a lot of people would know. But the ones that I see most, that especially when they go TBS, is Liam O'Brien and Sam Riegel. That they can't help it. They gotta be like, their claws out.
They pointed out on Wednesday on their erotic stream, but it's true. It's Mark Hamill's got a real bad TDS too.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, guys, I really want to support you guys. I want to buy your stuff. I have Funko Pops. I'm buying stuff from Hot Toys and Sideshow for Critical Role. And it's like, please just shut up about your politics.
The thing about it is I don't care about you because of your politics.
Yeah.
That's not why I subscribe. Like, if it's a Tucker Carlson or a Rachel Maddow, okay, that's why you're you. If you're just an actor, your politics are not why I'm interested in you. I don't care what you think about politics. It's like the last thing I give a shit about. I like your performance. I like your show Critical Role. I like that. If your politics is not what drew me in, so why do you feel now you can tell me about it? If you're like a comedian or you're Gary or you're these people who made their bones like on what you believe about the world, then great. That's where you're the type of person who should be talking about it. If it's not, if you're a singer or you're a comedian who doesn't talk about that, or an actor, it's like that's literally the last thing you should bring up, because no one's here for that.
Well,
and,
part of like social media.
It's
social media made me think, oh, well, everything I do is important, because what I eat in the morning is important. So, of course, what I believe about the president is important.
Because I'm important. I'm a famous actor. I'm important. I'm a
big matter of fact, you guys are so sad. We'll sing. Me and my famous friends will sing "Imagine" to cheer you poor plebs up.
And
you know what I mean? That will work.
And the sad thing is, like, their practical politics aren't even really what they align with. It's like it's all a social play. They're all putting on a social performance to be liked, to be accepted. And it's just, there's nothing more insincere and shallow. And the thing about it is that they forget, and I talk about this when it comes to entertainment, like audiences now are the savviest ever. We've never been more experienced in more TV, film, interviews with actors. We've never been more savvy in the history of entertainment. Well, guess what? We're as savvy to conversation and to people putting out their conversations. So we know you're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fooling fucking anyone. So it's like, what the fact that you can continue to believe this and you continue to put this out, and that the only voices you want to absorb into your mind are the ones that agree with you. It's like, oh man, that's just dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to a few things in the chat that we kind of like got over. Went through. Elvis is the man. He's been hanging out with us this whole time.
Shout out to Elvis.
Elvis is the shit. So he says, first they made a remake of Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford, and now making Ghostbusters all female. What the hell is going on? Guess who said that? I don't know who said that, Elvis. But are you guys, what is the deal with the new Indiana Jones remake? Is that supposed to not have Harrison Ford? Is that the truth?
Holy smokes. It shouldn't exist. It just shouldn't exist. There's not another thing with franchises. Let them end. Let them end.
Yeah.
There's no reason to still make Indiana Jones movies at all.
You know who knows that better than anybody? Ricky Gervais.
Yep.
Yeah.
He gets it. He understands. He's got this little moment, and then he walks away, and it makes it that much more powerful because it's like it's over.
Yeah, because it's in the moment. It's now. I did it. Everybody reacted. That because he's a comedian. Stand up. You do it. It works. The longer you do it, you try and do that again. You try and do that routine again. You can do it for an entirely different crowd that knows nothing about it. It might work again. It probably will work again. But you have to have a crowd that's never seen it, never heard about it. It's got to be brand new to them too, or it's not new. And new is part of what made it, gave it the impact, made it hit.
That's spot on. I'm a big fan of the comedian Jim Norton. He was a big part of the Opie and Anthony show for years. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I think, honestly, I feel like Opie and Anthony show like spawned all of our modern podcasts. I mean, Joe Rogan himself.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, he gives all the credit to Opie and Anthony. And like, I think that's really where it came from, a lot of it. And, but Norton always talks about that, where he's like, there's this moment where like a joke, something clicks and it doesn't work anymore. The time has passed. And you just have to be big enough to separate yourself from that joke. You just got to move on.
Yep.
Time, it's over. It's done.
Yep.
That's just how a lot of this stuff goes. You know, it's some things can just die. Some things can just go away, and that's okay.
Right. I want to go back to something. I want to go back to The Last of Us 2, and I guess this ties into a couple of things we've been talking about. Full disclosure, I haven't played it. I've watched a little of it, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it. So I have a pretty good idea of what upset people about Last of Us 2. And it's one scene, and it is a character destroying, in a very graphic form, a character that was the favorite character, the one everybody liked in the first game. Okay. Now you touched on Foulball. You touched on if they had Abby go through most of the game and had that confrontation really late. Okay, that might have worked. My argument is, and I want to say this, they had to make Abby likable, identifiable. People had to want to see her succeed, because the way they did it, the villain beat the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody liked the guy she destroyed. So she wasn't the likable character yet at that point in the game, in the story. You have to prepare it. And if you do the preparation, you can now take this new character and have them take over from the old one, whether they kill them, whether they succeed, whether the torch gets passed. Ghostbusters. You want to make a new Ghostbusters? Have the Ghostbusters pass the torch. Ghostbusters, the new one that's now been delayed again, but it's the kids with Egon's, legacy and their inheritance from Egon. That might work in the sense that it's a torch passing from the original Ghostbusters to these kids. Yeah. And maybe they can take the kids and have them continue forward with the blessing, if you will, of the original Ghostbusters.
The problem is with their worldview is the way they compartmentalize human beings. You know, they claim to be against, judgments on race, judgments on gender, judgments. They claim that that's what their point of view is. But the problem is like they're actually kind of the opposite. And they put people in these boxes, and it's like, you are this, therefore your experience is this. And so when they have a character like Abby, who I don't know, but I'm fairly certain they intended to be trans, you're supposed to automatically empathize and care about this character because of their box.
Right.
That's why that's this big disconnect, is like the way they look at the world. They have this, this lattice of people are in these boxes, and there's this intersectionality of like oppression, and you're automatically supposed to care and empathize with people in this box and this box and this box because they're in the box. And so when you don't, you're looked at as this monster. But actually, like, we're really just looking at people as human beings. It's just like, well, I don't care about
and
this
what they do and what they've done. Whereas they are immediately identifying with the character because, they're in this box.
Right.
So I have to like them.
You have to. It's the social obligation. And
Right.
it's like, well, I don't necessarily dislike them, but I don't care yet. Like, it's like anyone. I'm looking at it like a human being. And so do the work to make me invest in this human being. And it's like, that's the thing they fail to realize. Like, I can invest in a lot of different kinds of people if you show me their humanity. Like, that's the unifying factor that we're all going to respond to. We're human beings. Like, it's like this weird, like aggressive dehumanizing of people. That's just like the opposite of what they say they want. It's very weird.
They are megalomaniacal, narcissistic sociopaths, so they're incapable of understanding. I'm joking, but not. They are incapable of understanding humanity at a basic level. They are like the Borg. In that way, we always talk about the assimilate or die. But in another way, they are like the Borg because they are not human and they don't understand humanity at a good enough level to be able to write it. So they just only know checkbox. You emote towards the checkbox, right? Because the checkbox means that they're sympathetic just because they have the checkbox. So that means we don't have to write them as sympathetic because they're already sympathetic. They have the checkbox.
Yeah. And the danger is that no matter what you do, if you're in that box, then it's acceptable. So that's even, like, to me, that's even more dangerous. It's just like, well, now you're just whatever behavior or things they say or do, that's all acceptable because they're in that box. I mean, that's why you see with, like, not to make it political, that's why you see, like, the people storming the Capitol are domestic terrorists and the other people are just, fighting oppression. It's like, it's still a destruction. It's still violating laws. It doesn't, but to them, it's like, well, they're right because they're on this side and they're wrong because they're on that side. It's like, what are you talking? Like, so humanity is not in play here. We're not dealing with
humans
at all. That's not part of the conversation. Sorry, Dutch. I didn't. You look like you were going to say something when Vigilante.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about The Last of Us 2, and talking about the inclusivity and all this kind of stuff, especially with Abby. The big thing for me, I just bothered me so much, was Laura Bailey. And if anybody knows what she looks like, her voicing, dump truck Abby, it makes no sense. No sense at all. Laura is a dainty, feminine, great person, and that is with voice acting and all that. But it's just Neil won inclusivity with having this butch woman, basically butch, all that, and having a transgender actor for a transgender role and all that. But it just boggles my mind of he must have just used Laura because of her name to with selling the story, selling the game, because Laura is so big.
Yeah, like, she absolutely was just a name that came along with it, because, like, Laura's adorable.
Yeah.
Like when I watch those Critical Role streams, like she's so cute, and she's just cute as a person, but she's just like has a cute like soul, and like she's not. I don't know if she's ever lifted up a weight more than 30 pounds in her life. She's not a big girl, you know. She's not like a muscular chick, so it's like it doesn't really even align with who she is. So it's just like it's like a weird choice at all.
Yeah, and just recently she has admitted that she hated her character.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good. That's great. Good for her. That'll help her. That'll help her like likability overall. That's a smart move on her part.
Yeah. Yeah, and she said that probably the only thing that she liked during the whole filming of the game was her and Ashley Johnson doing that fight as Ellie and Abby. You know,
is Ashley Johnson, is she the redhead?
No. Ashley is Ellie.
No. But I mean, as a person, I don't know.
No. She's the blonde.
Oh, okay. She's like the gnome.
Yeah. Pike.
Pike. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys seen the Avengers movies, she's the chick that Captain America saved. The waitress. Her.
Oh. Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know, but yeah, her. And she was on Blind Spot too. But yeah, yeah, Laura said that she hated playing Abby for various reasons, and you know, the great thing she got out of it was, you know, acting against one of her best friends.
I think the thing about Abby too, with like her physique, it's like, you know, it's been covered ad infinitum with the AFAB guys, so I don't want to like get into it too much. But just about like the lack of protein to like required to make a body that big. But the thing about it is like it's not even that we don't think women could acquire that body. It's like that body doesn't exist. Like even amongst female bodybuilders, like she had like almost like a normal female frame, but these giant like Hulk arms. Like you see that Rick and Morty episode where he had like the one big arm.
Yeah,
you know, like it's what it looked like. It looked like she's got like these two giant arms that are like way too big for her body. It just looked ridiculous.
Her type of muscular development, even as a dude, you would think, okay, I think this person's on steroids, because the level of detail, like if you see a normal person who lifts weights, like they will be big and yoked, but you won't see that striation and detail to their musculature. You know what I mean? Where it looks like the Macho Man or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
She looked like super yoked and super cut and super lean and super like that, like human, like
look at these, like dude, it just doesn't.
That's not a woman.
That's not even a person. Like look at the chest to arm ratio. Like who has arms like that but doesn't have like a giant big chest, like a barrel chest? Like it's just, what is this person? Like,
okay, and also being the lady of the panel here.
Mm-hmm.
I could get away with this. Her chest. Okay, the female bodybuilders, you know, don't have much in the front, but they do still have something. They do still have something. They are not flat chested as men. I mean,
they have like, or they have like backs. Like I'll like here.
Look at this. These are
like this woman's huge. But you see how proportional the arms are to her body.
Yeah.
Like how it makes sense on her face. Like it's still it's extreme, but like everything is big. Like it all supports those giant arms. Whereas like Abby's like doesn't. Like this woman's like gigantic, right? She's huge, but it's like everything else is in you know proportion. Where we go back to Abby, it's like, what is this build that she has? Like what
child like frame with this grown ass man body.
It's not so much.
Like look at these arms, dude.
Yeah.
Like, all she ever did was do like pull-ups. Like it's like
and curls.
What do you have?
Why is she built like bang?
And like, look, even those girls, like she's just more masculine or so. Like she just looks like a guy, and also like a disproportionate guy. So it's like to have a problem with that is like, I'm sorry, I've witnessed human anatomy before, and this just doesn't fit in what I've ever seen.
Yeah, even with all these still shots, you know, her face, it's not a chick. It's not a feminine woman in any way.
Not really. That's
not
why
really.
I think she was ultimately supposed to be trans, and they cut it once the leaks came out.
Yeah, and I mean the flashback where we get her nut yoked and looking feminine. It's like, okay, where did this come from? But no, they had to do, if it is. Yeah, oh my God.
Look at her triceps.
Look how he's listening in the back.
She looks like an NFL linebacker. Like,
what she doesn't have are the deltoids, the muscles across the back, the muscles that make the torso become a wider at the top than the bottom.
Yeah,
where there's a particular muscle tension move, and they put the arms akimbo, and all of a sudden the deltoids pop out and the chest becomes triangular.
Right.
But it's the back muscles.
It doesn't. It all needs to be supported.
And that bodybuilder you showed had them, and she doesn't.
Right. Like you can't. Your body can't support that much weight without like the core muscles being stronger. It's just
it doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Like, she's not anatomically correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Even for like, I could even forgive the things like that the guys talk about a lot, where it's like, oh well, she didn't have the protein. It's like I agree with that. But that's not why I have an issue with it. Like, I just care about the fact that it looks silly. It looks ridiculous.
It looks insane.
Also, for me, I do art and such like that. So
look at like Elvis is like, I mean, just take a look at my picture. Like, right?
Yeah.
Elvis has got giant arms, but look at his chest. Look how much it puffs out. Like he can clearly bench like 250 easy. So it's like he's got the body frame to support the arms that like would fit someone that large.
Yeah. Like imagine those arms on somebody who's like 5'5", 150. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You don't have the tendons. Tendons can't support that much muscle mass. It's not possible.
Right. Where did you get those arms, and what did you do with the person who had them?
Yeah. It really looks like he put them on like an android and just popped them on her body. Like, okay, ready to go.
But also just looking at the other anatomical parts of her not making sense is her hips. Think of a woman, the shoulders to the hips. It's a man. It is a man.
That's brilliant. You know what? You're right. I mean, that's why I think like they wanted it to be trans and they dropped it because it became like once the leaks came out, like once the leaks became a big deal, and all the YouTubers like Jeremy and all that made a big deal about it. It just became this whole like, controversy where they just abandoned that storyline.
Yeah. You definitely see when she's yoked out, right there, she looks feminine. So yeah, that does look more sense.
That was more in balance. Like that's
more in balance. But those other photos, do not make sense.
None, not at all.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Like, look at this.
Yeah, but that's not the same character we were looking at.
Look at this person. Who is this person? Come on. Like, we're all supposed to just be like, yep, that's what a woman looks like. I've seen women like that. It's like, look at this. Look at this. Look at those meaty arms. Like, what, dude? Like, I work out a lot. My arms aren't that big. Like, what are you talking about?
That's what I mean. Like, no human being has arms that big.
No, a long time ago, I started whitewater kayaking, and my arms got bigger, but they didn't get that big. But my chest increased by 4 inches, and my waist increased by 2.
Dude, I'm 200 pounds. I can do like 15, 20 pull-ups. I'm not anywhere near as big as hell he is. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
no.
Who is this human being? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this world you guys are living in?
And also,
what training did she do? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And also, okay, her yoking up took what, 4 years? Within time
in a post-apocalyptic scenario, by the way, where food is scarce, which is a mechanic of the game. You have to gather food.
Yeah, and if you're, where's steroids, protein, all that kind of stuff to bake that arm alone doesn't make sense.
Eric, my arms used to be that big, but I was solid. All right, you're the exception, my friend. You're the exception. All due respect, I would never want to besmirch the great Eric K.
Okay, I'm not a exercise scientist. What is her training program to only develop arms and no other part of her anatomy at all?
What's
How
she
do you
lifting?
train?
Where does she get
What
like?
is
What is she like moving like barrels and shit? Like it's
Well, they had a gym.
the other thing that too. Like I thought about that while I was listening to people who were talking about that. Like their arguments are like, well, you know, she trained all that time. I'm like, okay, look, if she's fine, she trained a lot. I'll accept she trained a lot. She managed to have all the equipment. This, that. If you're like training to be a warrior, you're not training to be a bodybuilder. Like the MMA fighters, like I'll just pull up female MMA fighters who are some of the most ferocious in the world. They're not built like that.
No, they're not.
Like they're just not like you don't need to be like that strong. Like that's Amanda Nunes. She's one of the most ferocious fighters in who's ever fought. I mean, she's big, but she's not like.
Yeah, I mean, look at Rhonda. You know,
Rhonda or Rose. I mean, look at Rose, dude. Like she's built like a woman, and Rose would fucking kill me. She's a striking fiend. You know, you got Rhonda here. Like, look, Rhonda's in like great shape, but I have bigger arms than her. But that's not what you work on when you're trying to be a fighter or a warrior. Those aren't you don't need to be big like that. Like even Cyborg, who's a giant, who definitely that's a Gabby Garcia. Oh, I don't know who that is. Oh, that was Cyborg. She's pretty fucking huge, but she looks like a dude. She's probably doing steroids.
Yeah, Cyborg is definitely doing. Didn't Cyborg get caught with steroids at one point?
I mean, she was in Brazil for like 15 years, so she was definitely doing steroids. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I guess this girl's pretty big, but like these are not the top of the fucking league. I mean, what this girl, what's her name? Oh shit, I can't remember. But like even she was a peak fighter when she in her day. I mean, she's not a giant person. Like it none of it makes sense logically. Like none of it tracks. The only reason they did it was to just be like, whoa, women can be big. Women can be strong. Well, what are you afraid of women? You're afraid of strong. It's just like, stop it. You know why you're doing it.
Something? It would have made more sense if you would have just made her trans. Then it would have been, oh, okay, she's trans. It'd have been acceptable. I'm like, oh, okay, she used testosterone. That's why her arms are big. Okay, I can live with it. I can just move on.
I wouldn't even care. I do want to shift topics real quick, guys, because I watched a few Pixar movies recently. Has anyone seen Soul?
I have.
I have not. I've told it was good.
It was.
I haven't. I've seen bits of it from a trailer.
It was amazing.
It's not the kind of movie you would think would come from Pixar
at all, or Hollywood for that matter.
Yeah.
Like it was like inspiring. It was like peace, and it was beautiful and like loving and sweet. It really came from like somewhere like above. Like it was a marvelous story, and I was blown away by how good it was. I'm gonna make a video about it. Like I'm gonna do like critical drinker level research on it because it was just so good.
Yeah, and just of the fact of, you know, I really love the world building between, you know, the soul and where it gets to be able to go to Earth, and then
I don't want to, you know what? I don't even want to talk about it because like if you haven't seen it, I'd rather you walk in with no expectations and just like check it out, because when it started, I was like, oh, this is where this story is going to go. And it went in a completely different direction. And I was so like blown away by where it went and who and how it went and like what it explored and what the motivations of all the characters were. I mean, it was like beautiful.
And deep themes, deep, not just about death.
Not about any, I mean, about a million things, about life.
Yeah, but about life, but of a mental state and different things. And you never think of it in the way they did it. And it's like my two nieces, you know, every time that they now come home from school, I hear all the time they have to do their homework. But after that, they're like, we want to put on Soul. And I think they've seen it at least 50 times now.
Wow.
Yeah, between
I
8
want to
and
go watch it
6-year-old.
again.
I gotta watch that because
Yeah.
I love Pixar.
Mhm.
I have Pixar. I have the first volume of Pixar shorts.
Like the original ones, like the old.
Original ones. I mean, this is from most of these are from before Pixar became an animation studio.
I think I know these, by the way. Like, can you? Because I think I saw these on like some weird, like, collection of shorts called like Imaginarium. Is that them?
I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna look it
This is. There are now 3 of them. I have to get the second and third CDs. But would you say you don't expect it to come from Pixar? Okay, I don't expect a movie to that degree to come from Pixar, but one of the reasons I love Pixar is my absolute favorite Pixar short is what became their logo that starts every movie. It's the little tensor lamp that hops in and jumps on the eye in Pixar until it collapses it. That's based on the second short they ever made.
Now, do you know what it's called? 'Cause I'm trying to look it up right now, and I can't.
Oh,
I know I saw it, dude. I know I saw it like on like some VHS tape when I was a kid.
Okay, I'll give you the synopsis. It's very short. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. And back when they did this, they had just hired, and I can't remember his name. Damn it! And he was just forced out of Pixar, which I was horrified to find out. Pixar was originally a hardware and software company that did image processing, and they were trying to sell you image processing software and hardware. You want to make videos, you want to process pictures. And they said, well, if we're going to demonstrate this, we need to make shorts. And if we need to make shorts, they're animated. We need an animator. We need an artist. Okay.
Is this the images of shit that you remember? Because I think
that's the toy with the drum. Oh yeah, the guy there with the bee looking at him. That's their first.
See, I remember this as a kid.
Yes. Okay. So you have to understand. They had these computer geniuses, MIT PhDs. And they brought them in, and they were making rendering software, shadowing software, reflection software, how to make reflections off of objects. And they said, "Yeah, but we can do this, but we're only doing objects." So they brought in an animator, somebody who, in his own words in the commentary, said, "I know how to make a character come out of motion. That's what I do." So he would sit next to a developer and say, "Can you make it do this? Can you make it do that?" And he said, "Look, the first short there with the bee and the clown was, can you make simple shapes and animate them? Now I'll put those shapes together and make characters out of them," which is why the bee has, legs that aren't attached to the body. They're just shapes that are, flying in close formation with
it's
the character.
90s. It's at the early 90s.
No, that was 1985.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I had just graduated from college when they started producing these things. Their Tensor Lamp film was 86, I believe.
I was 1.
Wow. Okay. So
I.
what these shorts didn't get shown in a theater. They were shown at a convention, a symposium of people in the graphic image processing business. Sure. Basically a trade show.
Yeah.
And for the 86 trade show, they had made this thing about a tensor lamp. Their animator had looked at the lamp on his desk, his drafting desk, and he went, that would make a good character. I could do something with that. And then he had his relatives visit with their very young son, and he said, I noticed his proportions were different from an adult. His head was too big. Mm-hmm. So he made some sketches of his young nephew or whatever, and he came back to the studio and he said, if I made a tensor lamp that was a child, how would it look compared to a normal tensor lamp, quote, an adult? So he started sketching a tensor lamp that was a juvenile tensor lamp, which has a big shade for its bulb, and it's not very tall. And he's playing around with this idea, making sketches, storyboarding it. He goes, I've got an idea for something we could do that would show our new shading algorithm. And here's what I want to do. And they went, okay, do it. So he and the developers sat down. They worked on the shading. The shading algorithm was coming along. The program was coming along. They were going to feature that. That was what they were showing, okay? The program they developed to create these different, like gradient backgrounds and stuff. That was why they were going to put this together. But he's trying to create a story, the animator. And he created this story. They put a soundtrack, a little musical vignette soundtrack on it. It was great. They put it all together. It's like 5 minutes long. And it's about this adult tensor lamp and its child. And its child is playing with a ball. It rolls the ball in and it chases it, and its cord is,
and it like jumps on it, right?
It jumps on the ball, and he's having fun. He's going back and forth on it, and he bounces up and down on it, and all of a sudden you see the ball start to deflate, and you hear, and down goes the ball. He lands on it. And he looks, right? he literally looks underneath, tries to look underneath his own base, and then he rolls off of it, and he tries to nudge it, and it kind of flops up like a pancake. Yes!
This is the whole thing.
This is it. Okay, yeah. This is it. Now watch this. I got the punchline for this from his story. She knocks it, or the parent knocks it back, comes back. Okay. Looks at it. Well, there you go.
And this is the 80s, dude. Like, that's pretty clean animation.
It's beautiful. Now, here's the kid. Oh, yeah. Little ass wiggle. Goes after it.
Yeah, this animation still does look good.
Yeah.
For now, like, even, because, yeah.
Whoop. Okay, no. I'll nudge it back. Here you go. Yeah. Boom. And then, I'm having a good time. I'm having yeah. There it goes. Oh, what? We both look.
What did you do?
No, I don't think so. Boom, boom, boom. Off he goes. And then, surprise! Here it comes! The new toy! Oh yeah! Here I go, Mom! Okay. This, by the way, that had a soundtrack. John Lasseter, he's the guy. He is the man, and he has just left. So Lasseter was telling the story of this animation, and they showed it. He said, I felt for the composer, because within 10 seconds of this thing coming on the screen at the convention, the audience went crazy. They're yelling, screaming, applauding, shouting. Nobody heard the soundtrack. They're watching it. And it just brought the house down. Everybody went crazy. In 1986, nobody had ever seen anything like this except, Disney animated features and Warner Brothers crazy ass character animation. And here we have two tensor lamps, and people are actually seeing emotion, disappointment, all of these things, which is what Lasseter was trying to do. And Lasseter said, and then after it was all over, I was at a reception. And this guy, and I don't remember his name, but all I know is he was this incredible computer scientist, had a reputation, towering reputation in the industry. And Lasseter said, and here he is coming across the room towards me. I go, oh God, he's going to ask me about the shading program. And I have no idea how it works. And the guy comes up to him and he says, John, I just want to ask you one question. Was the parent lamp a mother or a father? And John said, we did it! We did it. We got the point across. He wasn't looking at the shading program. He was watching the characters. And that's why I say Pixar can't do a deep emotional thing. Come on. They made an emotional short out of 2 tensor lamps.
Oh,
almost 40 years ago.
Dude, when you watch Soul, it's not even like they can't do human, because they do human emotion really well. I like The Incredibles is one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah,
probably ever of at all. And it's like I remember I connected with it because I was a kid when I was like a late teenage. What call it 2004? I was like 18, 19, and it came out. And I remember like watching it and like the fighting between Dash and Violet. I was like, that's me and my sister.
Yeah.
Like I like the fact like that they fought with their powers. I was like, we would have 100% done that. Like that was so spot on. Like they just nailed human emotion so perfectly. The thing that Soul does, it's not that they nail human emotion, which they do. It's what they're talking about and the way they're talking about it. Like it's profound. It's like, wow. Like it's like when I went to college, I think I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't know why I was going to college. I was just going because you're supposed to go. So I went to college and I took this philosophy course just cause. And I think it was Nietzsche we were studying at the time. And it was like the guy broke it down to the potential like afterlife possibilities. And it was like you either, die and go to heaven, or there's karma and reincarnation, or there's nothing. Mm-hmm. And just when they broke it down that simply, I was just like, oh, well, all right. I mean, I guess that's not that bad. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was like peace. It just gave me like this kind of peace about afterlife. It was like, oh, okay. I mean, like it's one of them. So whatever. So it's like, great. It's just kind of like the mystery is the mystery, but I mean, it's only going to be so many possibilities. All right. Well, it is what it is. So it's like, it just kind of gave me peace. This movie tackles this type of stuff in a way it's very similar. Like it gives you this kind of like peace about existence and this sort of just acceptance about life. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, it is what it is. And it really doesn't soft soap it. Like I remember kind of expecting it to be sort of juvenile and like, okay. It wasn't. Like there was things that they did where I was like, holy shit, that thing you just talked about, that's going to be a serial killer. I was just like, wow. Like you just went right there. And like the thing was, oh, you're going to be a handful. That's Earth's problem. No big deal. And it was just so like, holy shit. They really went full bore at life, like right at it. And they went into it. And I was like, damn. And then there was also like this wisdom that was imparted by it of like these, I don't want to get too much into it, but I was just like, wow, like blown away. If you guys smoke weed, I'd recommend just smoking like a little bit of weed and watching that movie. It'll touch you. It'll touch you in a really good way. And I was so moved and so happy I watched it. And I can't recommend it more.
I'm definitely watching it now.
Yeah, I am too. I've been meaning to check it out, and I've been delaying a lot of things. Oh, I'll do it later, and that's been something because I wanted to check it out and actually cover it. I chose the Wonder Woman path on December 24th, and that's made all the difference. Or December 25th when it was released. They were both released the same day, and I wanted to actually review both of them, but then Wonder Woman took forever, and then I just,
Have you put out your video about why Wonder Woman is the greatest movie of the past 10 years?
I did.
You did?
I never did.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I got to see that. Because it's like Vigilante Williamson comes on one of the streams. We're talking about that, and everyone's like, and he's like, I don't know. I think it was genius, and I was like, what? And it was like, go ahead. Yeah, you're here.
But I mean, it was genius from the standpoint of like how anyone can make something bad, right? But to make something that genuinely doesn't know how bad it is and is genuinely trying to be good, like that's an art.
It's hilarious, dude. That's like people love that. Like the root, like that's EFAP's entire commitment to Batwoman.
Yeah.
That's their whole thing. Like they're talking about it tonight. They're like, I disagree. I think Batwoman is a brilliant thing, and I love it to death. And if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's ironic. Obviously, they're being sarcastic, but like they unironically love how fucking like it's like if me and you set out to make something bad, we couldn't make it that bad.
No,
you couldn't be the producers.
It'd be impossible. Yeah, exactly. It's impossible to make something that bad. And I think that's your angle on that movie, dude. I really want to see your video on that because it's like that's your impression. I'm like, that is awesome. Like, because people carry movies like that for years. It's like The Room. I mean, look at what The Room has spawned.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman 84 is going to be one of those movies.
You got to lead the charge on that. I think
maybe I do, especially with The Grape. I think that has, because at first that didn't really take off, but now like the more people think about it, the more people get uncomfortable with it.
Everybody,
you can't not get uncomfortable.
Everyone I've talked to about that, like, is like my friend Jared, who I do streams with every once in a while. Like he's not like he's a really smart dude, but he's not like in the Phantom Menace. Like we're in it. Like he's got a different angle on all this shit. So it's like even he was brought that up, just like, that's weird as fuck. It's like, yeah, it's weird as fuck.
That's one. It's like, why? I don't understand why he couldn't.
No other way in this world where you said magic's real and we can just create people whole cloth out of nothing. We couldn't figure another way to bring him back.
Literally, there are scenes where like people appear out of nowhere. All the time throughout this entire movie, but this guy needed to appear for this other character who was not mentioned. Like there was no reason. He didn't die. He didn't interact with Diana beforehand. And like,
I think the grossest part is how she flirts with him at the end. I honestly think that's the grossest part because it's just
that is so it's so disturbing.
It's disturbing.
This guy has to be he's just smiling and happy. He has to be thinking,
beautiful, the most beautiful woman in the world, by the way. It's like, oh wow,
yeah.
Who are you? Oh, you raped me? Wow.
What happened the past few months? It was like right before July 4th, and now it's Christmas. What happened? Like what happened?
I'll live with this existential crisis for the rest of my life. But hi, who are you? Like I just want to know what's going on inside the minds of the writers who come up with all that. Like where were you? Like what was your brain doing when that thought occurred to you and you're like, boom, genius, let's move forward.
And then because I was thinking the female perspective of just like, if this was a guy doing it to a girl, everybody would be up in arms, but they'd be right to do so. They'd be right to do so because it's weird as fuck. Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more it creeps me out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. For a woman to do that, and everything's kind of like, oh, it's all hunky dory. I guess it's Wonder Woman, and it's all magic and all that. And it's like you don't understand what you're trying to say is okay.
Well, like the film clearly takes on the premise that consciousness is like subjective. It's not like body to body. It's like a bigger thing because like they put his consciousness in that body, right?
They just put it in a jar somewhere until it came back.
That's what I mean. It's like, where did he go? Like, what did you existentially put him? Like, did you kill him for 6 months? Did he have to go see the pearly gates, or was he just nothing? Like, did you just extinguish his, like, essentially killing him for however long? Like, are you not dealing with the implications of the consciousness that you just like evaporated? Like, or was he like, what's that movie? Being John Malkovich, where he was just like living like as like a prisoner in his own body, watching what's going on outside of himself. Like, what did you do with that person? It's just, it actually, Vigilante, you're right. It's like, it's mesmerizingly bad. Like, it's like a subject of study.
And that's just like we can do the same thing about like Christian Wiig's whole character.
Oh, don't bring up her.
I was so fascinated by this character. I was just fascinated by her because it's like, firstly, like Christian Wiig, she looks good for her age.
She
And
does look good for her age. I'll give her that for
really
sure.
good for her age. To be in her 40s and look that good. I mean,
And it'd be like a UCB kind of comic. She's not like those girls are not normally exceptionally attractive who last. You know what I mean? Like it's like that Kristen Wiig is still kind of hot. It's like, oh, cool.
yeah. But like the maturity level of this character, holy smokes! Like, so you want to be popular, even though you're like a Smithsonian fucking like researcher or whatever the fuck she is.
Right. You have like a whole adult life and maturity, and you're like, I still just want to be liked by the handsome boys.
Yes.
See, they took the most easiest geek tropes for a woman and be like, oh, I don't, this is the character. Then we have reasons for her to change. And I mean, it feels insulting because it's like saying every girl that is an introvert is this way. You know?
They hate introverts. Sorry, I'll start drinking water.
Yeah.
They have this thing where introverts all want to be extroverts secretly. Like, no, they don't.
No. It's so many things of kind of like, oh, an introvert has to be this, the checkboxing, it has to be this, and this. But they're so good people on the inside. And then when they want something that, they usually don't have, they lose that special something. And it's like, oh, fuck off.
I wanted to bring up something that's like totally out of left field. But I'm not sure. I don't think I brought it up earlier. But this is the cocktail lounge, so I've had a few drinks. So Dutch, did we talk about, I watched this anime last night. It's called Jinro, the Wolf Brigade. Did I bring that up earlier?
I think so, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay. Vigilante, have you ever heard of that? Or Redshirt, have you guys ever heard of that?
I have not.
I haven't either.
Dude, I watched that last night. That shit was sophisticated. Like it was really, really good. It was, I'd say, Miyazaki level animation. Like the quality of like the art was superb to the point where like they go to this natural history museum at one point and like the animals, they really look like the animals, like the wolves and the like elk and shit. You're like, wow, like stupendous. And the like art, like the cinematography, like the way like the frames move like from like moment to moment was really high level, like really like A-list perfect Hollywood, like Scorsese level Hollywood. And like I have a lot of like gripes when it comes to Japanese storytelling, like specifically with anime. Like I don't think they do 3-act structure very well. And I think there's this axiom in writing that's show don't tell. And I think like all Japanese anime writers are like, no, tell, don't show. And it's like, that's the literally opposite. And they just like explain what everyone's thinking in the moments. And it just drives me fucking nuts. This was the opposite. This was so mature, so compelling, and so like interesting. It's like, are you guys aware of the show Man in the High Castle?
Yes.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
I've heard of it.
It's a vague type of alternate reality for Japan that like after World War II, it evolved in like this different kind of state, like a pseudo fascist state. And like, there's a lot, like all the military stuff and all like the vehicles and mechanisms and stuff in the show are inspired from Germans. Like they have these elite soldiers like wearing this like really high level armor and they look exactly like SS stormtroopers, and they even carry like big machine guns like the MG42 that like you've seen in every like Saving Private Ryan and stuff like that water cooled machine gun, all that stuff. So it's like it had, and like they even drive like Volkswagens, like that's the whole thing. But it was just incredible, and I was like blown away. I'd never heard about it. I've seen it on Amazon Prime, recommended to me for like at least a year, and I'm like, anime. And I was bored last night. I just clicked on it. Wow. Fucking wow. If you guys haven't seen it, like check it out. It's like it's about 2 hours long, but it was like, how come I've never heard of this? How come I've never met anyone who's seen this? It's like I ran into people who'd seen Princess Mononoke. I ran into people who'd seen, like any of those Miyazaki films, Spirited Away. So like you meet people in the world who are like, oh, this is good. This is interesting. This was the first time I'd ever come across. It came out in 99.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
wow
Wikipedia now.
Never heard anyone talk about it. And I was like, this is mature and unbelievably well executed. Like the art is crazy, and the story, you're like, I did not see that coming. I think, like, to be completely as a critic, like the first 2/3 are way better than the last third, but it all works. It just kind of like lets you down a little easily, but it's a really, really good anime. I can't recommend
it out. But you know, it's funny. That's kind of a criticism of a lot of anime. You just said the first 2/3 are usually better than the last third. Not that there's not great anime. Like, there are great anime series, but as far a lot of movies just tend to like have an awkward ending.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. There was I've tried, because the thing about anime is that I like love their world building, and I love the universes they explore, and the tech and the science. I think that shit is so much fun. Like, I want to get into it, and then like 9 times out of 10 I turn on, I'm like, ugh! I just get so annoyed. There was this one that came out a few years back. I want to say it's called Panic. Let me try to figure it out and what I was trying to think of. And you, Vigilante, you talk a little about anime for a minute.
Okay. You know, it's funny. I grew up watching anime like everyone did on the not Adult Swim, Toonami. That's what the a lot of people watched. They had Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
And then Adult Swim came out, and that's where I saw Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, and a lot of anime. But after that, I didn't get into it, and of course, it exploded. So I'm not as big of an anime fan as everybody else. And I think with me, a lot of it is just like, there's art that I love, and then it's not the art, actually. It's really just the some anime just doesn't get on with me. I think it's such a broad term to use the term anime, because it's such a like broad amount of things that an anime could be. But there's a lot of anime that I just like the weird and kind of like kooky, funny. Like, no,
like,
it's not me.
Yeah,
like aesthetic and genre combined can turn you off.
Oh, wait, real quick. I guess he left. V Suarez, good night, man. Thanks for hanging out. I imagine you already left because that was 3 minutes ago, but thanks for chilling, man. Appreciate it. He's a good dude. He's always around the chat. I'm sorry, man. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's fine. I was just sort of rambling, but yeah, I guess certain aesthetics I love, but it's just like I just don't like.
Dutch, I think you were about to say something about that, right? The comedy or something, like the humor, the sense of humor.
Yeah, it's like the artistic writing aesthetic plus the genre itself. Especially when you go into more kookier things like harem genre, like with Tenchi Muyo. That's one of the iconic ones of that, or Magical Girl, or Mech, or anything under the sun. And for innocent to almost triple X.
It does go there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like I said, the harem types really try to go there, But yeah, I understand what you mean. It's like there's certain art styles. It's like I like the idea of the story, but the art style is really turning me off.
Yeah, it's like it'll always be like something. It's like my buddy is a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, and I know that's like a really beloved franchise. And like I start watching it, and like I love the first episode. It's really cool. And then there's like that whole episode with like the corgi. Yeah. And I'm like, this is corny. Like it's I know it's older, but it's like it's just whack. Like I'm trying to be politely sitting through it, to explore something outside of my comfort zone, but I'm just like you're alienating me. You know what I mean? This is just cheesy. Like I want to like it. I really do, but I'm like, oh, geez, come on, man. Like, I don't know, appeal to me. And it's like, it could just be a taste thing, but it's I don't know. I want to like anime more than I do, because it's like, this seems fun. And I'm just like, you ruin it for me.
Me too. Especially because so many people are like so into it, and it's so loved.
Yes.
And it's funny. Like I like Cowboy Bebop quite a bit, and I remember that episode with the corgi, and I'm not sure if it's because like that episode is not like there's a lot of people who love that episode, but there are much better episodes than Cowboy Bebop.
Totally.
I would say it's much more in line. Like most of the series is much more in line with what you got with the first episode than what you get with that episode. But those episodes are definitely there. There's definitely
there. And it's a thing that like it's consistent. Like I got into Attack on Titan, and I love the ideas, man. I was like, this is so interesting. How creative, like what a fun world. And then they just like they're dragging out the reveal like season after season. And then there was like one, I think it was like the 4th season where it's like we're about to get into this. Like just before, like 2 of your allies admitted that they're the armored Titan and the other Titan, and you're like, whoa, holy shit, big reveal. And you're like, okay, and Arwen's going out to like figure out the Titan, and then like all of a sudden this whole new group of Titans just appears, and they're like, we've been here the whole time, and it's like, fuck you, no, you haven't.
Okay.
Tell me the story, you dicks.
Okay, the one thing I have never seen Attack on Titan. Why? Because when I first saw a commercial for it, and like I said, it could be one thing that could just set you off and say, nope, not doing it, is seeing the Titans eat people. I don't know why, but that scares the hell out of me. And some people love that fetish. They love vor. That's what it's called, vor. And some people, I deep dive into the fan fiction, fan art realm sometimes because you just gotta see what they're thinking, what the fans are thinking and drawing. But it's like, for me, it's like, no, it gives me the creeps. It's like, I don't care how good the story is. Just that aspect, nope.
I'll tell you what, like they use it for that purpose. Like whenever anyone gets eaten, it's not casual. It's not done as like oh, whatever. Like it's always done to be horrifying.
Yeah.
And so like it really affects the characters. Like this is something if you were to turn it on, you'd watch this in the first 10 minutes. But like you meet this protagonist and his like best friend. I forgot this girl's name, but she's like excellent. Kamisa or something like that. Like I forgot her name, but she's like the best, like because they're like, I heard someone describe them as steampunk Spider-Man. I thought that was great because they have like these like kind of like steam powered hooks and they kind of swing on them, and that's how you kill these Titans. You have like these swords in your back and you like pull them out and like cut them behind the neck, and that's how you kill the Titans. And him and the girl become really good, but it starts off immediately like Armin, I think his name is Armin. Like he watches his mom and dad get eaten by a big Titan because they like start off like, we haven't had a Titan attack in 100 years or 200 years or whatever it is. And then immediately it starts off with a Titan attack, and he watches his parents get eaten by Titans. And so it's made to have this moment where it's like, it defines the character. It drives everything he does from here on out. So it's like, that's like, it is supposed to be horrifying, but my biggest issue was just like the lack of storytelling, where they're just like, you're going to just milk this concept as long as I'm a fan, aren't you? Like it's that I don't like that. I find that manipulative. And the movie that I was trying to imagine or trying to think of before is called Blame. Has anyone ever seen that?
I have not.
It's a Netflix anime. It's based on a manga, as a lot of them are. And it's really, I mean, the first like 20, 30 minutes are really interesting. It's got these kids here and they're wearing like these full helmets that like, and I forgot why they're like, it's essentially based on that like Asimov story where there's this machine that just keeps building and building. It's like an automated Walmart, and it just keeps building and building and building, and like until the world becomes just kind of like a slave to this like AI that just keeps building. It's kind of the same thing. Like they live in this world where like this machine just keeps building levels and levels and levels, and it decided that like human beings are the enemy. So it's like they live in this little tiny enclave off to the side, and they have to like venture out into the dangerous world to get, supplies. Like right there. Brilliant. Like really interesting concept. And so the first like 15, 20 minutes are these kids with these suits on going to, try to get supplies or get water. I forgot exactly what their task was, but there's something fundamental to the survival of the village. But like along the way, like one of them dies, and then they meet this dude, the guy with that weird looking gun. That like this dude, I forgot his name, but he's like the protagonist of the whole thing. But the thing about the movie is it doesn't introduce him as the protagonist, and it's like it might work if you'd watched the manga, but it's like or read the manga, but it's like as it goes on, you're like, wait, what happened with the kids and their story? And it's all about this guy, and he's holding this pistol, and he's all really silent. And he doesn't say anything. And you're just like, what am I watching? Like, you set up such a brilliant premise. And what is this now? Like, I wanted to like it so much, and I can't. You've made it impossible.
Well, I'm going to leave you guys to talk this because I could barely keep my eyes open.
That's all good. Thank you so much for hanging out, Dutch. I really appreciate it. Do you have a channel where people can subscribe? Like, when you get back to making vids?
Well, right now you can follow me on Twitter. Just look up UD Dutch, UD Dutch Kitty. And I'm on Minds. Anywhere you can think of that airbase started to congregate now, just look up my name.
Oh, you Dutch Kitty? That's where we can find you.
Well, on Twitter it's UD Dutch. But everywhere else, USDutchKitty. And if you know where to find me on Facebook, if you follow the right people, you know where I am. But
wait, you mean I'm looking at it right now? So it's UD Dutch on Twitter? Yeah. The letter U.
And then Dutch.
U Dutch.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Oh, okay, cool. I found you. Right on. Dope. Yeah. So yeah. Check out USDutchKitty wherever you can find people.
Yep. Well,
right on. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was really pleasant.
Yeah, and you guys will have a good early morning, and I'm going to bed.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Toodaloo. Bye. All right, fellas. Just the boys left. Just the boys. How are you feeling? Anything on your minds? Any topics you're burning to get out there?
No, but now I'm looking on Twitter just to make sure I'm not subscribed or following the fucking White House. And then I'm looking at all this crazy shit on Twitter, reminding me why I don't fucking use Twitter. Like, I don't understand how the human race has used this damn platform for the past decade. Like, I don't get it.
Bro, I swear to God, man. Sometimes I'll pop open Twitter to get an idea for a video. And it worked last week when I made my Indiana Jones video just about the video game. It didn't, it's not my most successful video I've ever done. It's got I don't know, 30 views, something like that. But it was every single time I open that app, I get anxious and then exhausted at the same time.
Yeah, it's just
Eric, man, message me your YouTube channel so I can make you a wrench. I don't even know how to really do it. I've never made anyone a wrench. I don't even know what I'm doing. I tried to do it with Vigilante and Jake, and it kept saying it was a fail. I don't know what I'm doing. Just give me the exact link so I can put it in the YouTube thingy thing where I can make you a wrench. I will make you a wrench. I'll make all you guys a wrench. I just don't know how to do it.
I think you just click on the side, where the three on the YouTube side of the app.
Yeah.
If you go to highlight the name, then there's three
dots menu, a 3-dot menu on the right side of somebody's comment.
Yeah, that is how you wrench people. Because I was able to wrench Eric K.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, add moderator. Oh, I just did it.
There you go.
All right, Eric K, you're a moderator.
Another wrench for Eric K.
I had no idea. All right, you're
the
all
super
mods.
wrench.
I made all three of you mods now. Okay.
All right.
I didn't know you could do that. I'll make Dutch one too. That's fucking awesome. I didn't know. It's just like Gary talking about how he did his channel for however long and he didn't know there was a chat. That's that's how I feel like, oh wait, how do you do this? I'll make Elvis a mod too. Fucking A. Elvis is the shit. Always hanging around here. He's the man. Anyway. So Twitter. So Twitter sucks.
Oh
man.
Are you guys fans of Ryan Long, the comedian?
I am a fan of Ryan Long. He's great. He's hilarious.
Do you watch his podcast, The Boys Cast?
I've never seen his podcast, but I've just seen his shorts that he's done. Dude,
you gotta watch it. It's how Gary's our guy. I go to Gary. You know what I mean? It's I like a lot of the guys, but at least to me, Gary's the dude that I'm just I like what he says. and I usually feel like comfortable with his point of view. That's how I feel about Ryan Long for like comedians. Like he's the guy that's like, I like his point of view. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like it's ever kind of informed by anything other than like just like a punk rock, like counter what we're supposed to think mentality. I'm like, yes, fuck yes. Like his whole point of view is to take the piss out of it. I'm like, oh, I love this fucking guy. And his dude, the Boys Gas is awesome. You should watch. You'll get, dude, Vigilante, you will get a kick out of it for sure, man.
I have to check it out. I would probably like it.
Eric K, taking advantage of his privilege of his new ability. Follow USDutchKitty on Minds. Follow Just Another Redshirt on Minds. How do you find Minds, Redshirt?
I like it. I actually, I thought it was. I was on Parlay. I actually like Minds better than Parlay.
I do too. I like Minds a lot. Like I really want to use Minds. I already have more subscribers on Minds than I have followers on Twitter.
Okay.
I've got more. I'm more connected on Minds than I am on anything else, and probably including Facebook, which I've been on for about 7 years. And
what's your background, Redshirt, if you don't mind my asking? Like, if you feel free if you want to remain anonymous, that's cool. But like, what do you do? What's your attraction to Fandom Menace? How did you find all this stuff?
I was early into bloggers, and I'm talking 17 years ago. So I discovered blogs, and
I bet we were talking on some like sci-fi sci-fi message board.
No, actually, I didn't do message boards. I was on one bulletin board as a moderator. That's my experience for that. But that was really a long time ago. That's how I discovered blogs. And then I was looking at blogs, and I was reading a blog, Ace of Spades HQ, and have been for years. And he linked Gary's first Cal Exit video.
Oh, so this is recently.
Yeah, but no, within the last, I don't know. I mean, I've been on YouTube just sort of randomly looking at things.
That was about a year ago, right?
Yeah. And so I created an account and became a member of Nerdrotic 4 months ago, roughly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was where I got serious looking for, channels. I started watching Gary on Nerdrotic because I got linked there from a blog.
That's awesome. But that's still pretty recent. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, YouTube, other than random cooking cat videos and crap like that, finding people who are talking about things. And then I was like, wait a minute. He talks about Star Wars and Star Trek. And I'm like, I never met anybody who was crazy about those things. I talked to one guy when I was working in a silly cafeteria job in high school who was a fan of The Prisoner. And he and I worked in the pot room one day washing pots from breakfast. And we spent 2 hours talking about the last episode of The Prisoner.
That was the first YouTube video. As the first long YouTube chat.
Yeah. I was like, and then I'm watching Gary and I'm going, Gary talks with people like I had that conversation I had about the last episode of The Prisoner. So then of course I went from Gary to other people who were on Friday Night Tights, or that, Gary was talking about. As soon as I heard about them, I checked them out. So yeah, everybody on Friday Night Tights, and Comics Division and OMB report, Odin. I started developing my list of YouTubers. I subscribed to them, became a member of Nerdrotic, like I said, about 4 months ago, and it's just. I've never hung out with people who were interested in the stuff that we are interested in. Star Wars, Star Trek, nerd, science fiction, I'll admit, comic books, no. Marvel, DC, no. I literally did not know there was such a thing as a comic book store until I started listening to Gary.
Come on. Where do you live?
No. I lived in New Jersey in the suburbs. There were no comic book stores.
That's where I'm from, New Jersey. I knew about comic book shops.
Nah, there wasn't one.
Where are you from in Jersey?
I spent most of my growing up life in Madison, New Jersey.
Where is that?
North Central near Morristown.
Oh, yeah. My mom is, well, I don't know if I dox myself, but my mom is a teacher in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, but the closest I came to a comic book store was when I moved to Massachusetts after college, and there was a store called Newbury Comics, and I only went in there to buy records and
That's
CDs.
weird, dude. Because I remember, like, I'm younger than you, but I grew up in like I was a kid in the '90s. I remember going to comic book shops and shit. Like, they were around. Like, I feel like in Morristown there were comic shops.
I don't think I ever went to Morristown, to be honest. I mean, my parents didn't go there, and so I didn't go there because until the last year or so that I lived there, I didn't have a car or a means to go anywhere. And by bicycle, Morristown was an hour ride or 40-minute ride.
Do you still live in Massachusetts, if you don't mind my asking?
No, 2 years ago, I bailed out of Massachusetts, became a political refugee, and I'm now in Central Texas.
Dude, that's okay. So Elvis is saying, Neurotic said he moved from San Francisco to San Diego, now planning to move into Texas. I have relatives in the U.S. who've done it. Dude, I'm going to Austin Sunday. I'm flying out there because I think I want to move there. I think that's my next move. I think that's where I want to go. I lived in L.A. for about 10 years, and the political climate notwithstanding, although it's a significant part of my decision, nothing's happening here. This city is getting like so disgustingly overrun with like things that I want nothing to do with. In a way, it's also still super expensive. Like, there's just so many reasons, but it's like I really feel like that's my next move. What part of Texas, if it's fair for you to act?
Central Texas. I'm about a half an hour away from Waco.
Okay.
North of Austin by a couple of hours.
Fucking A. All right, cool. So, maybe we'll be neighbors.
Yeah, my brother's already in Texas. He's a damn genius. His house is already worth more than he paid for it. He got it. And just right in the middle of last year, just right timing. And he's about a half hour outside of Houston. It's just the perfect area. Like, that's where I want to stay. It's a nice area that's not near a city, but is near a city.
Yep.
Then that's the perfect area. So I really want to get a house out there. I'm hoping.
I think like ultimately though, I'm still like a kind of a city boy. Like, I like my like city conveniences. Like, that's something that I'm like, I can't live anywhere where the food isn't good. Like, I need like lots of like diverse foods and stuff. And I like I like the city conveniences. I just can't stand the city people.
I'll say this, Foulball. You need to be within driving distance of a city like Austin to go to dinner.
Yeah.
I live a half an hour outside of Waco, which is basically that's a university now. That's a college town.
Okay.
And it's it's really good with bars and barbecue joints and things like that. If you want a higher class of restaurant, they're relatively thin on the ground.
I want to take a real quick second to
sure.
Welcome. Hail, Anthroparian. Good to see you, man. This guy is a fucking rock star. I love this guy. I met him in your stream, right? All right, Vigilante?
Yeah, he's been Anthroparian. He's known me longer than you guys have, because he was been on my stream since like I had like 10 to 15 subscribers. And he just was there. I think he may have seen me, because like a lot of people would like, I'd be like in Eric July's chat and they would just come over and sub. Or
he's a rock star, dude. He like me and Jared the other night went for like 2 hours, And the thing about our conversations is it's not, I don't know how to brand it because we're talking about a million things. It's like, you know, if it's a hot movie, it's like Wonder Woman or whatever. It's like, I don't know. We're talking about a billion things. So I just pick like a few like topics or whatever. And then I saw in one of the comments on like the re-upload, he clearly watched most of it. And it was just like, damn, dude, thank. Like it's so flattering. And like, he's just a solid guy who just like hangs around, man. Like I fucking love this dude.
Well, living in this area as I do, I can tell you that Waco, the idea that the Branch Davidians were in Waco is like I just said, I live a half an hour from Waco, meaning that's the biggest landmark you're likely to have heard of.
How do you like it? How do you like the life in Texas?
I live in a beautifully central location. The problem is I'm a half an hour at least from everything.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle of nowhere. Most of my neighbors are cattle.
Okay.
I mean, literally.
Yeah, me too. I live in LA.
Yeah, well, I live where they literally, you know, I've been on conference calls at work and they hear.
That's right, dude.
But yeah, and the funny thing is, I've talked with people around here who remember the Branch Davidians. They're like, yeah, they weren't that big a deal. The sheriff knew him. I mean, he didn't think there was a big deal. They attracted too much attention from the wrong departments. So that turned into an absolute disaster. The folks around here didn't think they were that big a deal.
I said, you see Anthroparian's quote, good to actually hear you, Redshirt.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. Did you buy a good mic for all this? Because it sounds very clear.
Oh, thanks. No, I have a gaming headset with a boom mic, and it's not even a really good, you know, like condenser microphone. It's just it's like my conferencing headset, except it's a little better than that.
It sounds crisp. Sounds good.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's good to know. So I can save the money on a more expensive headset.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, make tools with what you got. I mean, Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, he's like, I've been doing all this on a webcam. That's like, he's like, talks about, he's like, got the $30 webcam or whatever. Like, he brags about it. And it's like, yeah, it just needs to sound good, I think, for the most part. Like, you know, a lot of the guys that we listen to on FNT and all that, like, I mean, as his setup's terrible. Like, he looks fine and he sounds, but it's not like flatter. It doesn't look good, you know, no. Like, even Ryan's got like all the Star Wars posters and stuff in the back, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Does it really matter? I mean, it's like, well, we're looking for your personality, like what it looks like. The only reason I got a green screen was just because it was nothing here. And I don't have like enough nerd paraphernalia to validate myself. So I was like, fuck it. It was like $40. Like, yeah, whatever. And I had all the lights from all my auditions. So it was nice and easy. Yeah. You really don't need a lot to just start talking online.
No, I don't have anything in my room. Like behind me, I just did the Funko Pop thing when I just accidentally realized I could fit a Funko Pop in between the way the pop filters kind of bends. But yeah, I don't really have. But
you have a good gimmick though. Like I love your like Vigilante Williamson like character. Like that's the star of the show.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? The character makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
Like say crazy shit that I wouldn't say. Like I could just make jokes. Like the character, like me myself. I've just dated women, some good, some bad. Oh, cool. Who's that?
Cara, dude.
Yeah, cool. I have a
It's got like 7-Eleven. I bought it just on a whim. I was like, I need to have that.
But like, go on. Yeah, but the character Vigilante Williamson, like every woman he's dated has been like insane. And it's been like terrible, but it doesn't matter. But he's like cool with it, so it's like it doesn't matter. He's just like crazy. So I love the character.
Bringing it back to Jim Norton from before, it's like he says that a lot. Like he does this character Chip Chipperson. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's got a show. Have you seen it? Really? You seen Chip?
I think I have to chipper sound. That sounds familiar.
Fucking ridiculous. It's like fuck yeah, fucking. He's just like the worst. He's just like he just ruins the vibe. Oh, fucking It's like the worst jokes. He's hilarious, but he says that he finds it's easier for him to watch himself and like be like a chip because it's like it's just this. It's not him, so it's like it doesn't bother him to go back and rewatch. Like he can live in that like weird vibe of a character. I'll tell you what. That shit's harder than I thought it would be because I have like this guy where I talk like this sometimes, like, oh geez, guys. You know, I have like this kind of character and like I tried to make a show out of it and I was like, I hate this. Like I don't like I don't know what to make of this. I don't even know who this guy is. And it honestly came like this like existential crisis. It's like characters is like you can like get it or you can't. And it's like if you can do it, fucking lean into it because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot to me. It's the opposite. Like if it was just me, like I'm not that interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not that fascinating. So I wouldn't know what to do. I feel like I would be a lot more boring because I would just be like, but because I'm because I'm really naturally a very shy person. So to just be like insane is like this has been the most fun I've had past few months or out now it's like 3 or 4 months of doing this with you guys and doing all these streams just because I could just like I'm still myself, but I could just be I don't know, wacky. I could be insane. Like I could be it's like me turned up to like 30 instead of turned to 10.
I know that Redshirt can probably validate this, but it's like you'd be surprised, man. Like most of the entertainers that I've met, and you meet comedians too, like they're actually quite introverted and like awkward socially.
Yep.
Like, it's something like it's like the risk or the pressure of like putting it all out there almost like brings out the best in you. But it's like whereas like normally you're kind of like weird. Like I still feel like I'm really weird in person, but I'm just working super hard to make it not weird. You know, like I'm like it's like a fucking like a 18-cylinder diesel engine working to just kind of keep all the weirdness in check so I can have a normal conversation with people. But it's like I don't know, a lot of performers are like awkward and goofy. It's like remember when what's his face fucking the Joker gave his Oscar speech recently and you're like
yeah,
what do you say? Oh, cows or what are you talking about? Like calves are being pulled and you're like you're fucking weird. It's just but that's kind of like the nature of a lot of people who like put themselves out there. It's like they're so weird and like kind of I don't know what introverted like in their normal life, but when you give them a microphone or a stage, all of a sudden they come alive. It's really interesting.
Well, I know a lot of people. Gary's talked about being a nerd. It was not cool. You got a lot of crap for that.
Shit.
And one of the things, and I know I did this, is the humor becomes a defense mechanism. If you can make somebody laugh, they're less likely to give you a hard time. They're not going to be all over your case if they're laughing. So you're like, I got you to laugh. Let me see if I can make you laugh more. Maybe I can get the hell out of here before you decide to change your mind. I don't know how many comedians, I can't say, but I'd be willing to bet that a lot of comedians first learn to make people laugh as a means of self-defense. And people who have to make people laugh in a means of self-defense usually aren't the hail fellow, well met, Russ Sherman. Yeah, I'm glad to meet you.
Dude, you're 100% right. Like that's where that comes from. I mean, Norton talks about that a lot. Like when he was a kid, like that's how he avoided fights. You know, like he's got this great story about when he was like a kid and he was like a wigger kid. He used to like try to act black and talk black. And he had like this Kangol because he was like a kid in the 80s, like when like Run DMC was cool and all that. And he had like one of those like felt Kangol hats. And this like big black dude that he went to school with like ripped his hat off and like, like in like an effort to kind of bully him or whatever. And Norton, there's like this weird standoff. And Norton's like, well, hey, if you wanted to see my hat, you could have just asked, which like isn't really that funny, but it's like one of those like defense mechanisms where you just kind of have like an instinct to like just protect yourself. And dude, that's exactly where all that comes from. It's like, do you see the movie Funny People, the Judd Apatow movie?
Nope.
Honestly, really good. Before Apatow got super woke, it's really good. It's what's his name? Seth Rogen and Adam Sandler. And there's a moment towards the end where because Adam Sandler's like this washed up comedian, and he comes back. And you saw this?
I did see it. Like, I'm thinking, like, did I see it? Was it the one where is it Aubrey Plaza?
Yeah, it's like her first like, thing she ever did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he Adam Sandler kind of takes like Seth Rogen under his wing and kind of puts him on the road, and it becomes this whole big story, you know. But he like, I don't know if he's drunk or if he's just in a really low moment, but Sandler's character starts attacking Rogen, and he's saying like, "You'll never be as funny as me." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are you saying this?" He's just like, and he explains the situation where his dad used to like, he would either like beat him or his mom, but if he could make the jokes, like if he could like keep everyone laughing, then like it would cool the situation down, and like no one would have to take a beating. And like that's exactly where it came from him. That's where it comes from for a lot of comedians and a lot of people who are, you know, funny, but a lot of performers too. It's like it's a defense mechanism, exactly as you described it.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot to creativity where 'cause I had a friend that was like an artist, and I would talk to them about like being creative and stuff. And I always said that like awkwardness forced creativity, but not for the reason people thought. Like when you're awkward, you find yourself like spending more time with like whatever is your craft. I mean, it's a sort of different thing than what we're talking about, but it's sort of the same. Like where in the case of Norton having to like crack a joke to get out of the situation, or just like you mentioned Adam Sandler's character in that movie, he has to make everyone laugh to keep it safe, and that builds in his like strength. But I feel like people who are awkward tend to find these creative pursuits for like some means of expression, and even if they're not initially good at something, because they're craving it, they'll work towards whatever that craft is that they're interested in until they get good at it. So that's why you have that awkward genius. It's not like, oh, this person is awkward and they just automatically know how to, you know, write a movie score, write a movie, or create a piece of art. It's that because of that awkwardness, they put so much into something, and it happens to be, you know what I mean?
It's that feeling of outcast. It's like something you touched on just a minute ago, Redshirt, where you're saying that like nerds weren't cool, and it's like Absolutely. They weren't fucking cool. I wasn't fucking cool when I was like playing Magic at Magic the Gathering at the lunch table in middle school. Like that was not cool. And like, you know, obsessing about Star Wars and like talking about the differences between the original one and the, you know, 97 remake, or, you know, whatever it is, like re-release, and like people like mocking you and like looking at you like you're fucking weird. Like it's not a cool thing, like inherently. And when you then like going back to all of it, it's like, that's why like when you meet someone, or sorry, you discover someone like Gary from Nerdrotic or like Az or Doom, and they're talking about this shit with the same passion and the same conviction and the point of view that like, you know, is there, and you just hear someone talking about it, like, oh my God, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's like you connect with it on such a profound level because it's been this thing that's like been in your heart, but you just kind of keep it to yourself, and you meet people and you try to kind of feel them out and get it out there, and it usually falls flat or gets awkward, or, you know, occasionally you'll meet someone who can talk about it. When you meet these guys, you're like, motherfucker, yes.
These people understand me.
They get it. They get it.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that crucible is what makes interesting people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a weird reality, but it's like Rogan talks about that on his podcast, where he's just like all his favorite people, whether it be Ari Shaffir or Bert Kreischer or Tom Segura, like they all came from really fucked up, weird backgrounds. And he struggles with his kids because he knows his kids are going to have an incredibly privileged background, because it's like he's super successful and he's a good father, so he's going to take care of them. But it's just like, what do you do with that? Like, how do you help, like give them the best possible life, but also keep them grounded and not like
That's simple.
obnoxious and shitty. Yeah.
The work thing they have. If you can still be a billionaire and just like, okay, you still get an allowance and you still have to work for it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, it doesn't matter. And it could be like $15 allowance. Like, Dad, you worth $1 billion. Like, I know I'm worth $1 billion, but you're 8, so do the laundry and you do the same thing every other parent has ever done. If you do that, it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a parent, so it's like I always think that shit too, but I don't know. But I want Anthroparian's comment. Hating Star Wars TLJ brought us all together. I'll tell you yes, 100%. What brought me in was Game of Thrones falling apart. That's what got me in. It was the thing I loved and I obsessed over, and I watched every episode like over and over, and it just got weird. And I would talk to people. I remember I was talking to this kid about it, and it was like the Battle of the Bastards. You know that one? Remember that with Jon Snow and that?
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I was fascinated with the fall. Like I was somebody who wasn't a fan, almost like how similar to The Last of Us, but at least I watched the original game, like played. But like I really was like, what is going on? Because I knew how beloved the series was, or something that you would hear people at work talk about. And then you just hear like this turn, and maybe because it was similar to Star Wars, I had an interest. What really brought me in was the fall of Soy Woker, the damn Doomcock rumors, where they had the rumors about Ray Palpatine.
Well,
and that let me.
I mean, look, I'm in for all of that, but I did want to just finish this point because it was this whole thing with like, is like Jerry Johnson say it was a classic, and it was like. That's what I heard from a lot of people, and I'm sitting on this feeling. I'm like, Sansa had to rescue Jon Snow, and I'm like, what? Like, it was this weird. I'm like, something's off in the juju. Like, something is wrong in this universe that I have spent so much time invested in, and I just sat there with this opinion, and I'd share it with people, and they'd look at you all weird, and we're like, all right. But I knew there was something to it. And then it was like when it all fell apart, I'm like, okay, I don't care what anyone thinks. This is fucked up. I need to go find what people are talking about. And that's when I found the Critical Drinker. And he was just eviscerating this show. And I was like, yes, fucking yes. I knew it. And like the whole universe expanded for me. And I was like, oh my God, these people, they get it. They see it. They're talking about what the fuck I'm talking about. And it's like, thank fucking God. Thank fucking God. Like, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was like a lunatic in an insane asylum. And there are these geniuses who are articulating this in a way I'm like, oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's you for sure, Foulball, seem to have, you're like, you knew you were interested in this stuff and it wasn't cool. I wasn't cool, but I didn't know why. And I was out of college. I was working. I'd been in out on my own as I've been a software engineer my whole career. So I know I'm not cool because I'm a computer programmer. And computer programmers are not cool.
Let me just say, real quick. Let me just say hi to Jerry, just because he just, hey man, thanks for joining, hang out with us, contribute to the chat. We'll throw your stuff in there. Thanks for hanging. But I'm sorry, Redshirt, go on.
That's okay. But the first thing I discovered, I was at a company outing. My company gave us a big shindig every year. This one was we went on the duck boats in Boston. God help.
Oh yeah, I know what they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that, and then they took us to McCormick and Schmick's for a steakhouse, and we're gonna have a dinner, and everything's paid for. So I'm like, oh, I'm cool. Here we go. What's the biggest filet mignon you have? Yeah, I'll have that. Rare, medium rare. Anyway, so we're all sitting around. I'm with 3 or 4 of the programmers I work with. We're at a table, and I don't know where it came from, but the subject of the the Star Wars remakes, the George Lucas's redos.
Are you talking
came
about the
up.
prequels? Are you talking? Wait, which?
No. I'm talking about where he put all of those extra bits into the scenes
In the 90s, the special edition in the 90s.
Yes. Yeah. And this is where the Han Solo shot first thing came from. And I'm always in chats going, Han didn't shoot first. Han shot, period.
I was just going to say the same thing. Han shot only. He didn't shoot first.
Right. He just shot. That was it. And I went in this whole impassioned rant to one of my colleagues about how this had ruined Han's character. He started as a ruthless villain who would kill to maintain, in cold blood, to maintain his position and his business as a smuggler.
Cool as fuck, by the way. You just met this cool space cowboy and he just blows that guy
Boom!
away. Awesome.
Done. Oh, and then flips a coin to the bartender, goes, sorry about the mess.
Sorry about the mess.
Yeah. And I said, so he goes from that. He stays there all the way through the rescue of Leia. You know, he's like, ancient weapons and hokey religions are no substitute for a blaster by your side, kid. I mean, this is all the way through. And then he and Chewie are packing up their reward for helping to rescue the princess. She comes by and gives him crap. And he's like, that's not going to work on me. Luke tries to convince him, come on, we could really use a pilot like you. He's like, not my fight, man. Hey, and Luke, then Chewie, and Chewie tries to talk him into it with a whatever. And he's like, no, Chewie, just load the stuff. Let's go. So they sail, they just take off. And obviously everybody knows the battle commences, the attack on the Death Star goes. They're all the way down to the last team trying to put a torpedo into the vent, and Vader's on their asses. He blows away Luke's two wingmen, and he's about ready to target Luke and blow him away, and bang, boom, there go his wingmen, blast him out of the trench. And the next thing we see is Han Solo and Chewie going, yeah! And I'm like, he goes from
unflow this thing and go home.
Yes, and that is the most amazing character arc in the shortest period of time I've ever seen in anything.
Yeah.
And George ruined it by making him a law-abiding citizen waiting for somebody to try and shoot him before he killed him.
Which is, and I don't want to like rain on anyone's parade or shit on it, either one. I just don't think there's anything left in this Star Wars berry. Like, people want more from it, and I'm like, I understand the feeling, but I'm like, guys, like, the prequels were bad. Like, not only were the prequels bad, the reimagining of the original trilogy was bad from the guy who gave us this whole thing. Like, it's possible that they might make something good. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just like the spirit, man, has been just so, I don't know. It's carried by certain people, but it's not carried by the guy who made it. And it's not carried by the company that keeps making the stuff. I guess what I'm saying
is the question.
I guess I just think it's just, guys, like, we should move on is what I feel.
Starting to agree with that so much. So, like, we talked earlier about like what our franchise is and should we still continue them on anyway. And this kind of ties into that. George Edit was so out of touch. He confirmed it when he followed up with the prequels.
I was cheering to you, but I want like that point. That's exactly what I said. It's like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, real quick before I go into my spiel, was there another version that exists, like a TV version? Because, like, I remember watching the Han shot first version, but I also feel like we had like I don't know if you guys remember the VHS days, but like we were really into taping movies. So we had not just we would buy cassettes, like you go to the store buy a tape, but we had like you could fit like sometimes two or three movies on a tape.
Yep.
So we had so many movies in that format. So I feel like I first saw Star Wars where like Han did not shoot first. right?
No, because there was a
First.
VHS. There was a VHS version of the OS of the original theatrical.
Yeah.
release.
Yes,
Okay.
there was. Yes, it was shown on TV
Yeah,
with
I
a
saw
different
it on VHS.
different aspect ratio. It was on the VHS tapes and it was on the laser discs.
Yep.
And I have a limited edition of Star Wars which has the theatrical release in its disc 2 bonus material. And the reason they put it in there was to try and stop the pirating of the Laserdisc version, from what I understand.
Because I know I saw, because I'm 35, and I saw Star Wars when I was a kid, like 5, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
And I saw it on a TV with a VHS tape. So the VHS tapes of the original release exist. Like they are
Yes.
out there.
Yes,
I'm
they
like,
do.
It had to
Yeah.
exist because I'm like, I remember seeing that first, and it was being a big deal when we got the '97 version, and being because luckily I feel like wasn't there a documentary where they explained all the differences? Because I remember like this is really
Yes.
different.
There is.
Yes.
Because there was so.
And by
many-
the way, Vigilante and Foulball, George made sure that his re-edit was what was released on DVD. So what I've been looking for years is a DVD
Now that's
of the original theatrical releases of all 3 movies.
And
I
that's what
just
doesn't
found it.
exist. Oh.
Yes, this limited edition, and God help me, I paid 4 times as much as I wanted to for
Ooh.
three 2-disc DVD sets. It's excuse me, somewhere between $50 and $75 an edition.
Oh,
So I did that 3 times.
wow.
Yeah, it came out in 2005. So the damn thing's 15 years old. I'm finding new old stock, which is what I bought. People who've had this crap forever and they're trying to unload it. But now they're like, yeah, but it's collector's edition. So yeah, I got taken to the cleaners.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that's going to. I'll tell you
But
what.
Oh,
it is, as far as I know, it's the only DVD that contains the original theatrical release.
Because here's the thing: when I was a kid, you know, I was born in '85, so I grew up with like the VHS, right? But then they re-released the special editions, and that was a big deal for me because I went to the theater and saw all 3, and it was awesome. And because I'd been such a nerd for Star Wars all my life, you know, when you got new footage, it was really cool. It was great. Like, I don't even care that it was good or bad. I didn't even have that concept. It was just, it's more Star Wars, so good. And then as the years went on, you look back on it and you're like, oh, this doesn't enhance it actually. Overall, it kind of takes away from it because now it looks like bad CGI and things that were completely okay to have cut out with the original from the original edit. Like that's what editors do. You get rid of the extemporaneous stuff. You don't need it. Get rid of it. So
Right.
It's like all I want to see is the final product that they made in 1977, 1980, and 1983. I want to just see the thing like an artifact. And
It
weird,
is.
right? And it's like
It's an artifact. It's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it was those versions that made it happen.
and I don't want you to go back into Jaws and make the shark more scary.
Right.
I don't. I want you to leave it as it came out. Like that's interesting. It's like George Lucas would always open up those because I watched them a million times, the special edition VHSs, and this was before DVDs. So if there was a preliminary like 10 or 13 minute like documentary about the remaking of these new movies, and unless you physically fast forwarded through it, you had to watch it, and I would watch it all the time. And he would use this quote from this filmmaker that he, you know, lauded and thought was really brilliant. And he's saying, you know, all films are never finished or just abandoned. And he says, I wanted to go back and refinish my abandoned film. And it's like, that is like a sin to me. It's like the movie was the movie. Like it worked. Abandoned or whatever. It's perspective, man. The thing is done. And I think that is the biggest flaw of all this shit. It's just this re-tinkering. Everyone's going back with their screwdrivers and their wrench, and they're trying to turn it into, it's just like it already exists. Let that be, and then move forward. What is this retroactive, like, time machine shit you're all trying to do? It's like, just fucking stop. It happened. Build on it.
But here's what George didn't recognize, because to him it was a film. And I'll go back to when I was giving my impassioned speech about why George's edits were wrong to my colleague in the restaurant. And here's what he said after I said all of that you guys were like, yes, yeah, that's exactly right. I made the whole speech, and he looked at me, and all he said was, "It's just a movie." And I said, yeah, so's Triumph of the Will. And that was the most obnoxious thing I could think of to say to him.
But that concept that he's trying to convey, it's just a movie. It's like, what is the core of what you're saying? What does that mean? It's just a movie. Okay, it's just your mother. She'll be dead, and 1,000 years will pass, and no one will care. It's like, it's just a painting. It's like, we are what we experience. We are the makeup of the art and the world that we encounter. It all matters. You can't just throw it away like it's like, oh, it's just it's like, really.
But here's what I would argue.
I was saying, like, is David just a sculpture? Is the Mona Lisa just a painting? It's like, no, you fucking retard. Like, it defines our time. It's culture. It's what makes humans humans. We make something that, like, reflects our values or has something to say about the times or the people in it. It's like, that's what humanity is. It's just a movie. It's like, then you're just a collection of cells, you asshole. Like, that's a terrible perspective. Like, these things fucking matter. They define us.
Well, I took it as that was the moment I realized I wasn't a normie. A normie looks at Star Wars and goes, "It's just a movie."
Yep.
He looks at the Pietà and says, "It's a sculpture." It doesn't strike a chord. It doesn't. It's pretty. Oh,
Yeah.
it was nice to look at. And he probably spent all of 30 seconds admiring it and then moved on to the next exhibit. I didn't know what not a normie meant until I met on YouTube Gary. All I knew was I wasn't the kind of guy who looked at Star Wars and went, well, it's just a movie.
Right.
But here's what I'll say to that just a movie thing. Everybody has something that they're passionate about. So
Yes.
what that really is, it's just something I'm not interested in as much as you. Because that same person, I'm sure, if you go down the line, maybe they're a passionate sports fan, maybe they're passionate about a certain TV show. Like, everybody loves something. So that's just a movie. It's just bullshit. That's like
I'll tell you what. To that sentiment, it's exhibited brilliantly in the movie Soul.
All right.
To bring it all back around.
Now I really want to see it.
It's like, damn, what a concept. Like, it really works. I mean, I don't mean to, like, overstate that, endorsement, but yeah, like that, what you guys just expressed, it's like, it is so well expressed in that film.
All right.
Yeah.
Got to see it.
Bring an endorsement for it.
But you know what, Redshirt, what you summed up, dude, like that, not a normie concept. Like, that is, like, have you guys ever seen the movie Amadeus?
Yes.
Like,
I have not.
The to me, the genius of that film is it's like someone who is a normie but knows the difference, but can never live into the reality of someone who's like touched or special or gifted or whatever, and the tragedy that of his, like, knowing what makes him mediocre. It's so profound and like insightful. It's like exactly what you just described. It's like it's more than just a life of just consuming and moving forward, and it's like having the ability, the lens to see the beauty, the majesty, like the specialness.
What's the name of the character who is the normie? Salieri.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Salieri was not
a real guy. The story is not accurate, but
but he was a real composer.
He was a real composer,
and he was not a hack.
Right.
The difference is he was competent, but not transcendent.
No, I know that the history is not like as. No,
I'm not talking the history. I'm just saying Salieri was not a hack. He was a competent composer of popular music at the time.
Right.
What he realized was that Mozart is not making popular music. He's making music that will never be forgotten.
Right.
He realized, and that was his tragedy.
Yeah.
He realized.
He knew.
I make music that people like now.
And also he knew like the way you look at a Van Gogh, right? And he died poor and penniless and no one loved him and no one appreciated him. He knew no matter what happens, this guy is that guy.
Yep.
He's the next level that they're going to love. And the tragedy was he knew he could never be that.
Right. Exactly.
See this now.
It's a great movie, dude.
It is a wonderful movie.
And it's like it's accessible because like the way the characters are like articulated is really you grasp it. Like Mozart is a drunk philanderer. Like you just
he's a miserable human being.
You totally identify with. He's just like a rock star. He's a rock star of like the whatever that was 1700s, and it's like and he's just fucking chicks and just also a genius. Just like easy, just it came to him like natural. It's just and that was Salieri's like. In rage to this guy where he's just like and he knew how
Salieri's like you don't deserve your talent.
Exactly. He resented him for it because he's like, I know how good you are and I've been around this and I can't do it and I know you're doing it on this extra high level, and it drove him into mania. I mean, it was just his downfall. It was like it's why it's such a beautiful thing. But like that's what I think. It's like we're kind of the bridge, we're kind of the Salieris. We're kind of like we are the lens, it's like we can say what people like don't see and can't express. But we know the difference. And it's like, that's like our gift.
Yep. Oh, Vigilante, have you seen I think it was Matt Smith, Doctor Who episode with Van Gogh?
I am not a Doctor Who guy. So
okay. Well, okay. You can watch Mozart. You can watch the movie. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about Foulball, when you talk about Salieri knew that he was different, that he would never make it. And of course, Mozart was oblivious because he was just in his own world. One of the things I loved about Matt Smith, and it took me a long time to really warm up to Matt Smith, but this was one of my favorite episodes of his.
Wait, who is Matt?
Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
Doctor Who. Yep.
I don't watch Doctor Who, so I don't have like the.
Oh, you guys. Okay. If you have to find one Doctor Who, and I'm a huge fan of David Tennant, but Matt Smith, I think he did the episode where he takes his companion back to meet Van Gogh.
Yes, I've seen clips of that.
Okay, you got to watch the whole thing because the gift he gives Van Gogh is to bring him forward to see a museum exposition.
Yes, I've seen that exact moment.
Yes, and Van Gogh realizes, which he never did in real life.
No,
because he never understood that he was going to be or was appreciated. He was never appreciated. What Doctor Who gives him is, I'm going to show you how you're appreciated eventually. And Van Gogh, the actor, walks in and he sees all of his paintings, or a lot of his paintings, and they're nothing but his, in a room in a museum, and people are all staring at them and talking about them, and they're appreciating them, and he's just looking around going,
He's
my
crying.
God. And he's crying. Everybody is talking about his paintings, and nobody's ever done that before.
It's a
That is one of the most poignant Doctor Who episodes I've ever seen.
I didn't see the episode, but I know exactly the moment you're talking about, and I knew, like, just by the context of the scene, I knew exactly what was going on.
Yep.
And it was such a profound thing. I was like, that's so cool. What a fucking awesome thing. I want to acknowledge Anthroparian real quick. Then go, I'm sorry, I can't hear that. Could you repeat that into my good ear?
Yes.
I've actually seen that clip as well. I do know of it.
Okay.
I think that concept is also a crazy thing of like someone who is a great artist and is not appreciated until after they're dead.
It's very common.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is.
Matisse too, I think, right?
Who? Sorry.
Matisse, Henry Matisse.
Matisse, yes.
I think he was the same way. I think he was one of those guys that was like died penniless and everyone loved him afterwards.
Yeah.
But you know who wasn't like that? Have you guys ever like looked at like Picasso's work?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
we all know of him. Dude, I went to this exhibit and I walked through and I was like, interesting. And then I happened to have this guide who like gave me this insight and I was like, no shit. So I went back and like looked at it all again. Dude, the guy was a fucking punk. Like
Yep.
the guy made art that was like mocking its audience. Like it was like Marilyn Manson's The Beautiful People, where it's just like and it like does it for a room full of models, and they're all like, "Yeah, good song." It's like, you idiot. It's just like it's like that. Like Picasso was mocking like his pretentious, oh my god, how insightful, how genius, like audience. Like he was throwing it in their face, like, you know, I'm gonna fuck with your entire concept, and you're gonna tell me I'm genius, and I'm fucking with you. And it was like, damn, dude, that's so badass.
But Picasso was one of the early postmodernists, and there were a lot of them from around 1900 up through him, and they were mocking the pretension.
Yeah,
the problem with postmodernism is they started believing their own bullshit and their press.
Dude, it's like every other artist.
Yes.
It's like, look at Eminem, dude. Like Eminem was like such a punk, you know, he was so counter, and now he's just the thing. It's like Marilyn Manson too. It's like I've seen him at a bunch of events in LA, and like that guy's just a Hollywood guy now. Like he's not cool. He's not like counter
Hollywood 20 years, 30 years almost.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you know, but it's kind of
called it. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, it's true. But it's not always true, but it has truth in it. But it's like that whole thing. It's like it's kind of universal. It's like you've got the Mozart who's like this mess of a rock star. I mean, as he's portrayed, who knows? But then you got Picasso who's like, you know, fuck you. And it's like, and now you've got like the artists of the day, like you got like comedians or guys like Gary who are just like eat a dick, motherfucker, like going after the system. You know, it's just like this. It's all still the same. You know what I mean? It's like the conversation between people and the fucking audience is like it's still like alive. You know what I mean? Like it's all still just art. It's all still just communication of you know, feelings. I mean, that's the whole goddamn thing.
Well, I mean, humans haven't changed that much. We like to think that we have. Our technology has.
Yeah.
Like the basis of who we are from a physiological standpoint, and then the emotional, mental standpoint, the things that stimulate us, that makes us human, it's pretty much the same. I mean, fuck. Well, first thing we did when we could think is like, let's draw someone in this fucking cave. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No shit.
And so now we draw someone on an iPad because we can technologically but like if we would have gave those first motherfuckers an iPad and taught them how to use it, that's what they would have done.
100%. It's like, dude, if you go like 15, 20 generations back in anyone's family, we're talking the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all, like I was thinking about this with a friend of mine. I was just like, yo, if you really think about it, like every human alive has got someone in their lineage who killed somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? it's like what, like we're all just this weird, like trying to figure it out, like half monkey, half whatever thing, you know. It's like we're just like there's these little stardust particles trying to be like, whoa, what do we do?
We
How
take
do I-
ourselves too seriously. That's why sometimes I start thinking about like animals and shit. Like whenever I think about philosophy, I say, well, like, wait, we always assume us. Like when we think about philosophy, it's like, oh, what if there's if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? Well, fuck yeah, every fucking animal in the forest heard it, motherfucker. No human heard it. Doesn't mean we didn't hear it. But we're so arrogant in our interpretation of reality. Is like, well, no humans heard it. Did it make
we
a sound?
didn't hear it. So who cares? Yeah, it didn't happen.
Exactly. But the universe isn't centered around us. We just happen to fucking be here.
It's true. Sentient Dildo. What's up, my man? We're a whole bunch of idiots, except now we have smartphones.
Exactly.
Yep.
Stupid people and smartphones. Now there's a combination.
So, Jerry Joplin asked me, is this a Cuban cigar or a Black and Wild? It's not a Black and Wild. It is a Nicaraguan cigar. I don't remember the label, actually, because I just bought it at my cigar shop down the street a few hours ago. But thanks for asking. It was pretty good.
I feel like you're going to get me into cigars because you just make them look so cool.
Oh, dude, they're the best, man. Like I love a cigar. It's so like comforting. Like it's like getting into like a warm bath, like a towel over your face. Like
They're damned expensive.
No shit though.
Yeah, no, they are.
It's an expensive hobby.
I used to smoke Monte Cristos before I quit smoking.
For Christmas, I got 8 Monte Cristo's vintage Connecticut's, and like each one of them is like, I don't know, $16, and they're all gone.
I got an entire box of Monte Cristo. I don't know, they were Churchill's maybe. I don't even want to know how much my first wife paid for that box of cigars.
Your first wife. You sound like Jake.
She passed away. So no, that she was the love of my life. She passed away on me. Oh, man. I am happily married now, remarried now. But yeah, she was something else.
That's dope.
And yeah, and I mean, I have had Cuban cigars in Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, they're good, but the Cuban companies and Monte Cristo was a Cuban cigar maker, moved out when Castro took over, and the only thing they lack is the Cuban tobacco.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
I learned about that like actually when I was in Vegas because of this fucking amazing community, because of the whole, Neurotic was supposed to have his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I went anyway, and I met Eric K. The great Eric K. Got to hang out.
The Meister Wrench.
He's the man. And so I went to the cigar lounge at Caesars, and I'm just getting into it. I'm still just getting into it. I mean, it's I'm still new at this whole cigar thing. And these two dudes like because I guess I lit mine with a Bic, which you're not supposed to do.
No.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I started talking with these guys, and they kind of made like a big joke about it. But like the one guy who was like this, he said he was a bookie. He was a bookie from LA, and he had like pretty good money and like a hot wife. So I was like, oh, maybe he was. He like ended up actually buying me like these 2 tools, bought me like this cutter and this lighter that he wanted to like make sure that I knew. And then he gave me what I later found out to be was like a $40 or $50 Cuban cigar. And like I spoke to, and it was just like it was like, oh wow, there is something fucking to this. Yep. And then they like walked me through the whole history about how like when Castro like took over Cuba, it like kicked out all the other cigar makers, and there's this whole diaspora to like Nicaragua, and like I was like, wow,
Honduras, Nicaragua, yeah.
It's fascinating, man. It's like the history of cigars is like there's like a lot of human history in that.
Well, I read an article in a cigar magazine years ago that had an idea, and I don't know how accurate it was, but they were trying to say, we think we've found out why Cuban cigars, one, tend to make people nauseated if that's their first cigar. They said tests have proven that a lot of Cuban soil has high amounts of lithium in it.
Really?
Yeah. And they said, and then they were, now I don't believe they sent a bunch of Cuban cigars to a lab to have them tested, which is why I can only say this is speculation. But they were speculating that if Cuban cigars, if the tobacco uptakes a lot of lithium from the soil, lithium is used for treating certain conditions, and its primary side effect is nausea.
Huh.
So they said, well, if Cuban cigars have a lot of lithium in them, one, they'd probably mellow you out a hell of a lot, because that tends to be what lithium does. But it would also make you nauseated as hell. I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. And that may be the magic ingredient in Cuban cigars is lithium. Who knows? I can't swear by it, but I thought it was really interesting.
So I looked this up the other day, and like, because I smoked cigarettes for years and I quit because it's a terrible habit.
Yep.
And I used to get, like, especially towards the end, I used to get this like lots of anxiety. Like it would get like in the back of my neck, and it would make me like anxious. And I always assume nicotine's like an upper, like it's a real common thing with drinking. You have a drink, you smoke a cigarette, it is what it is. And then I started smoking cigars. Oh man, I get the most relaxed feeling. I'm like, I fucking love this. It's like being in a sauna. It's really nice. I looked it up the other night. Apparently, nicotine actually is a depressant. And I'm like, what? Like it like fuck my whole worldview about this whole drug. Why it's even a thing. And I was like,
if they putting cigarettes in?
Well, nicotine's a number of things.
okay.
One is an appetite suppressant. So, it has a number of effects.
Keep smoking these, I'll get abs.
Well, it's like to a certain extent, it's like tea. If you've ever talked to somebody who's a tea fanatic, if you're agitated, tea will calm you down. If you're somnolent, you woke up too damned early, have a cup of tea, it'll wake you up. Well, wait a minute.
Somnolent. That's a good word, right?
It's like, well, wait a minute. Are we talking about the caffeine in tea being a stimulant or a calming effect? I'm like, no, I don't think that's all it is. And nicotine is a complicated one, partly because it's been so vilified, nobody wants to study it. So there aren't a whole lot of clinical trials on anything to do with nicotine. So it's hard to say. All I know is nicotine, and I smoked for 30 years. I smoked cigarettes for 30 years. I now vape because that was my solution to get off of cigarettes.
Yeah,
it's a transition. But here's my attitude. My attitude is nicotine is addictive, but it's not damaging the way the tars and all of the other things that are in a cigarette where you inhale burning leaves.
My connection with cigarettes was a need. It was like being a heroin addict. It was like I needed it. Like it was. I didn't even necessarily enjoy it. I had to do it. It was the time was click and it click. You need it.
Yeah, that's the nicotine. No, that's the nicotine. I need the nicotine. I know that, and I get it from vaping instead of cigarettes now. But I will freely admit I'm still addicted. I'm addicted to a form of nicotine that is not as damaging as my old delivery method.
And that's great, dude. But it's for me, it's just with cigars. I'm like, I don't need it the way I needed a cigarette where I needed it. I want the experience again. Like that's what I'm looking. It's like drinking. It's like I'm not addicted to the drug itself. I'm addicted to the experience. It's like
right.
I want to feel that way again. That's how cigars are with me. I like that feeling. Like it's just so I don't know what it's just so pleasant. Whereas like cigarettes, I was like, I don't even care if it makes me feel good. I need to have it now because it's like it's my drug. It's just like it's wild. Like I'm like, this is the same thing, right? This is the same tobacco leaf. I'm having a completely different experience with it.
Yep. No, I agree. Cigars for me were totally different from cigarettes. I would sit and
smoke a cigar now and like it would be cool.
No, I can't touch anything like it.
With a burn.
Yeah, I've got to stay away because I'll want to go back.
I get that. I totally do.
Yeah. So
Jerry Joplin, it makes me feel serene. That's how I feel.
I felt the same way with cigars. To me, a cigar was sit on the deck outside where I don't get it in the house and just sit here for an hour enjoying a really nice cigar.
It feels good. It feels really good. Have you guys ever seen what Anthroparian's talking about? Google the web of spiders on different drugs. Have you guys ever seen that?
Not the web of spiders.
It's like, like literally, like, so they would give like a spider like a microdose of, it was like nicotine, THC, and like LSD, and like watch it make like different webs. It's actually quite fascinating.
She's just freaky.
It was pretty. I wanted to go back to what Jerry Joplin said. He said, wait, where are we? Oh, he says, I got a mask with a hole in it so I can smoke in public. They take it serious in Los Angeles. Jerry Joplin, are you in Los Angeles? So am I, my friend. I didn't know you were local. That's wonderful news, my friend. Glad to know you. Hope you're doing great out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta stay safe in California, man.
Yeah.
Even though everywhere's going to be California pretty soon, it doesn't really matter.
Did you hear about? I don't want to get too political, but did you hear like one of Biden's like first executive orders? I saw it in a meme and I didn't believe it, and I was like, okay. Oh, Silver Lake. Right on, buddy. I'm in North Hollywood. Hail to a fellow Los Angelinan. You're in Croatia too, Central Dildo? No shit. Do you know Elvis? The other guy, Elvis Imbrahimovic? He's a Croatian as well.
Shout out to Croatia.
I didn't know I had so many Croatian fans. This is wonderful. I was about to go somewhere with that. What was I talking about?
Biden's first thing.
Oh, yeah.
The women's sports thing?
Yeah. It was like, I saw it in an email and I was like, oh, that's probably nothing. And then I saw it again. I was like, oh, no. He made that executive order about the trans and female sports thing. Have you guys heard of that?
Yes.
It is so stunning and brave and wonderful and fantastic. And I am not being facetious, believe me. Believe it or not. Because I love it. I love this. This is what I love. This is why everyone who is so worried and so proud. I need to switch jokers. Let me switch jokers so I can let you guys understand what it is.
Okay.
Now these civilized people will eat each other. I know that there is a family, exists at least one, if not thousands, if not millions of families across this country of young women who were actual athletes, who actually worked hard, who looked at their woke ass mother who voted for Biden and said, "Thank you, Mom. Now I'm not going to college." I that's how they learn. They're not gonna learn any other way. They have to eat themselves. So I loved it. It's fantastic. I cannot wait to see the WNBA finally have people dunk in it. The WNBA will finally be interesting. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. It sucks because I like beach volleyball for women's. I've always wondered why women's beach volleyball is not one of the number one sports on earth. Still exists.
Yeah, but Vigilante, the LPGA will still be boring.
Dude. That is fucking hilarious.
These 6'7" girls start dunking on each other. It's awesome. There's no more women's basketball. There are no more women's sports.
You're gonna see LeBron in a wig in like 3 years.
Oh my God, you know what? I'm 45. He'll look to one of his marketing teams.
I've always been a woman. Let me run the WNBA for 6 years.
Because he'll look at his marketing team and say, you've been doing this woke thing. We know you're already black, but the next level, you gotta be sort of LGBTQ. So we figured if you act trans, You could be the best player in the WNBA. Michael Jordan's never been the best player in the WNBA. Nike's behind it.
You can have 2 leagues. You can have 2 leagues.
You have 2 leagues. And he was like, you know what? LeBron James has a ring to it. And all of a sudden, LeBron James becomes the girl. He'll be sweating and brave.
And by their rules, they'd have to accept it. That he'd have to be like, I've always been a woman, and they'd have to just
Nothing they can do.
he could play as a high-level pro into his 70s.
Doesn't everyone see how great this is?
Fucking Kevin Durant's like 93, still making 3. Kavina Durant is.
Would the WNBA be great if Larry Bird was like cooking these current women? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Laura Bird
destroying it, or like
fucking
Charlene Barkley.
What's the name about it? He got like 14 championships.
Ewing.
Patrice Ewing.
And Karen McHale.
Crushing it. They're getting all their rings. They're like, look at this. Rings.
Everybody's finally getting rings. Oh man.
Shakisha O'Neal.
O'Neal. Donkey. Dude, the WNBA, if Shaq can become a woman, O'Neal, he's the most dominant thing in sports. I just can't imagine this 300-pound man.
Dude, you're gonna see like in female boxers, you're like Micah Tyson.
That's what it's going to be.
Riley Jones Jr. is going out there fucking killing people.
Mike Tyson almost has the voice for it already.
He almost does.
He's almost there. Oh my god.
Hey, Jordan,
okay, Vigilante, I'll grant you this. It's going. The entertainment value is going to be off the charts.
There's like, this is why we should anyone who wants to be political, a third party will work now more than ever. There's never been a time for a third party to take over because you are going to have such hilarious comedy coming from the White House. Like how
I'm just thinking of Taylor Woods.
the LPGA.
Just destroying it. Who's this Taylor Woods out of nowhere?
Oh man, now with Tiger, I can imagine because you know how everyone likes him. You know how he fucked all those girls. I'm like, now he's trying to pick up girls at LPGA as Taylor. He's a lesbian. Yeah, he's with the hottest women in the LGPA. I'm not sure every hot woman in the LGPA, but I can't imagine golf makes you ugly. I mean, you can still be hot in golf. I remember some hot golfers in high school.
Oh no! Golf does not make you ugly. Trust me. There's at least 1 or 2 LPGA players that could be on Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
I can finally be back to Kobe.
Of course, that's gone. There will be no more swimsuit issues.
Oh Jesus Christ! Filipina Mickelson just the first in the WPGA to get 14 titles in 4 years.
Somebody's gonna do it though. Like we're joking, somebody's going.
Yeah, but obviously, yes, somebody is.
And like by their rules, it was totally be allowed. As soon as like they just say, "I've been a woman this whole time," and LeBron just starts going out, decimating, like boom. They have to make the rim like 14 feet high, and he's still like jamming double-handed in front of his defense.
Oh man!
Oh my god!
And you know what the worst part is? once that happens, whatever sport is going to explode. Like if
Right.
seriously,
Of course.
if LeBron James joined the WNBA, the WNBAs must fucking watch TV.
Yeah. Why would you not watch it? It'd be dude, Ryan Long, one of his funniest things was that like Trump should have like on his last day, before like Kamala got in, he should have just been like, I've been a woman this whole time and like admit that he's like a trans man to woman. And then he could have been the first female president.
Yeah, he should.
They wouldn't have dared him.
They'd have to go with it because their rules say he's always been a woman.
Oh,
I was like, that is so genius. Well, that'd be like the biggest troll in history.
He absolutely should have done
Oh my God. Whew. Well, gentlemen, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
I think so. I don't think we're going to top that.
Let's go out on a high note.
Oh, man. I'm glad you brought it up.
I am too, dude. You got so fired up. It was awesome.
Because I think it's so great that they're just this insane. Or the dress.
Exactly, like a dress in a gown, the same gown that like Michelle Obama wore that like they said she was so stunning in, and they'd have to just be like, oh, he's stunning. Like how much that would bother them. All right, Vigilante Williamson, it's been amazing. Plug your channel, my friend.
Okay, hey, I am Vigilante Williamson. I talk about pop culture, and I'm trying not to talk politics. I don't talk hardcore politics, but I talk culture war stuff. I talk a lot of silly stuff. There are 7 people watching. If all 7 of you sub to me, I would have 7 more subs, even though some of you already are. I only say that because that worked on Comics Division. And so I'm going to keep using that gimmick until it stops working. Anyway, I appreciate anyone who subs. I appreciate anyone. I love Foulball. I love doing streams with him. We got to do more streams. And I love Just Another Red Shirt. He's not just another red shirt. He's the Red Shirt. Check me out on Minds. I'm on Minds, and I'm on this platform, always talking shit. And I'll be actually doing a live stream tomorrow with some guests, hopefully. So, yeah. Yeah,
definitely check out Vigilante Williamson. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. Here's his YouTube's in the chat. Check him out. He's awesome. I thank you for fucking coming in, man. I was when we were in chat on Nick's chat the other day. I felt like we didn't even talk, and I was like, I felt bad. I was like, I didn't talk to my friend, so I'm like, I'm so glad that you're here, man. Like, you are welcome. Literally anytime. You are the shit, and definitely subscribe to his channel because Vigilante Williamson is the fucking man. Redshirt, do you have a channel? Are there videos people can see?
I have a channel with nothing on it and 1 subscriber, and I pity that person.
I think that will change. So go ahead and subscribe over to Just Another Red Shirt, and why don't you give him just a little sign off? You don't have to give a little sign off.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you all later.
Excellent. And you guys know me. Thank you for hanging out. Jerry Joplin, thank you for stopping in. You know, you're just a random dude. Thanks for hanging out, man. Sub to the channel. Check us out. We're doing stuff like this all the time. We talk about movies, if you're a fan of The Expanse, you are on the right channel. If you're not, I talk about other shit. And these guys are always around. They're good people. Eric K, the fucking man. Who am I? I don't even know. I ask myself that regularly. You guys are awesome. Anthroparian, thank you for hanging out. You're the shit. Sentient Dildo, best name I've ever come across. And I think Elvis may have left us, but he is the man. And Elvis, thank you so much for hanging out. And you guys are awesome. Jerry's asking oh, there he is. Elvis is here smoking a cigar. Hey, he's still here. He's the shit. Good to see Elvis. And Jerry Joplin, how often do I live stream? Regularly. I don't know. It's like the schedule. I'm trying to become more professional and more adult and have more of a schedule, but I'm around. So check out the channel. And thank you guys so much for hanging out. This was a fucking hoot. You guys are awesome. And have a great night. We'll see you all soon.
Take care.